This winter marked the first for my grandson, Tyler, since he was born. The weather forecast reported a record-breaking cold snap for the day. I wonder if they're okay. The first thing that came to mind was my DIL, Emma, and newborn Tyler. I hope they both haven't fallen ill from the cold. I was worried and sent Emma a message on my smartphone that night. Are you and your baby catching a cold? However, when I sent her a message twice and thrice, she doesn't reply or even read it. She's a serious person, so I hope she's not pushing herself too hard. After waiting another hour, I tried calling just in case, but the result was the same. This isn't like her at all. Without a second thought, I threw on a thick jacket and rushed out of my house, driving to the apartment complex where my son's family lived. No response when I rang the doorbell, and imagining Emma collapsed inside, I immediately called the building manager to unlock the door. Inside, it was dark, with only the faint glow of the streetlights seeping in. I groped along the wall, relying on memory to find the light switch. But no matter how many times I flipped it on and off, the lights wouldn't respond. What's going on here? My mind was about to explode with anxiety and frustration. I reluctantly used my smartphone's light to step inside. Emma, are you here? Maybe they were just out. Just as I was about to turn back, I thought I heard the faint cry of a baby from the bedroom. Emma, are you there? I immediately headed to the bedroom. Emma. There was Emma, shivering with cold, but desperately wrapping Tyler in a sheet to protect him. Are you okay? What's wrong with you? Shining the light, I was shocked to see Emma's pride and joy. Her long black hair was now chopped short, almost to a buzz cut. This is terrible. How could this happen? My name is Monica Davis, 61 years old. I've worked as a hairstylist for many years at a beauty salon that's also my home. Chatting leisurely with familiar customers during work is my greatest joy. My husband and I originally started the salon, but he passed away from cancer when he was young. It was not long after my son Max was born. Nevertheless, I pressed on, raising Max by myself. However, despite my efforts, Max wouldn't listen to me, starting to skip school in high school. When he did go, he caused trouble, and I was often called to apologize to his teachers. After graduating high school, Max didn't pursue further education and began hanging out in the city every day. Maybe it was his inferiority complex about not having a father, or perhaps my failure as a mother. Unsure of the answer, I always worried about Max's future. So, when Max suddenly said one day, "I want to be a hairstylist," I was so surprised I pinched my cheek, thinking I was dreaming. What made you think so? Well, hairstylists get all the ladies, right? Max replied with a smirk. Looks like you do end up following in your parents' footsteps. Regardless of the reason, I took it positively that my son showed motivation for his future for the first time. Max smoothly graduated from beauty school and started working as an apprentice in a senior's salon. That's where he met his future wife, Emma, who was also working there. After a relentless pursuit, Max confidently told me, "I've decided to marry her," when introducing Emma to me.
Nice to meet you. My name's Emma. I've heard you are also a hairstylist. I'm looking forward to learning from you.
Emma was a charming woman with a bright smile, and her long black hair suited her well. Nice to meet you, too. The moment I saw Emma, I liked her instantly. One day, a year after their marriage, Max started talking about wanting to open his own salon. Though he hadn't been an apprentice for long, Max seemed to have gained a lot of confidence as a hairstylist.
Since I've become a hairstylist, I want to open my own salon and prove my skills on my own.
To be honest, I was a bit anxious. With years of experience, I knew all too well that this industry isn't kind enough for a newbie to easily start their own business. Yet, I couldn't ignore Max's earnest desire as he spoke of his dream with such serious eyes. "How much do you have for startup funds?" When I asked, Max gave me the deposit amount with a sigh and a slightly troubled expression. Despite the steady income from his apprenticeship, he was spending just as much as he earned. With this pattern, there was no way he could afford to start his own business. Max had squandered most of his earnings on leisure activities. Perhaps I should have advised him to give up then. But I just smiled and said, "Don't worry about the money," indulging my son's whim. Maybe it was my way of making up for the loneliness of growing up without a father. Truth be told, I had never touched the life insurance money left by my late husband. It's for Max, after all. You would forgive me, right? Gazing at the portrait of my late husband, I spoke to him in my heart. A regular customer of mine, who was knowledgeable in real estate, gave me advice.
That place would be perfect.
It was a barber shop until half a year ago, but the owner had retired due to old age. The location wasn't bad, and she strongly recommended it for Max's new venture. When it came time for renovations, other regulars said, "Use my husband, he just lazes around at home on his days off, and my son's studying architecture in college and is home for the summer break. He can help out as part of his studies." Thanks to everyone's help, the renovation went smoothly, and we successfully got the approval of the beauty salon, and the opening of the shop was quick.
I never thought I could start my own business so quickly.
Remember to be grateful to everyone. You couldn't have done it alone.
I know, Mom. I'm grateful to you.
Then I gave Max a rest of my husband's inheritance. The purchase and renovation costs ended up being much cheaper than expected, so there was more than half of the inheritance left. This is a gift from your dad to you. Use it wisely for the business expenses and don't waste it.
Yay, I know. I'm not a kid anymore.
Max replied with a forced laugh.
Don't worry, Monica. I'll keep a close eye on Max to make sure he doesn't spend it on anything strange.
Emma said with a cheerful smile, making me laugh involuntarily. With Emma, a reliable person, helping out, I didn't need to worry about Max anymore. I optimistically decided to watch over their business from a distance. However, I soon realized my optimism was misplaced. Emma would sometimes visit my salon after work to update me, and each time, her expression grew darker. 3 months after Max's salon opened.
Max is not putting his heart into his work, and it's becoming a problem.
What, Max? Why?
He was all excited at the beginning. With my skills, the salon will surely thrive, he said enthusiastically. But after a month, his smile vanished, and he started treating customers coldly. As this continued for 3 months, the salon's reputation worsened through word of mouth, and eventually, customers stopped coming.
Hearing Emma's report, I was in disbelief. Max had expressed a desire to own his own shop. Despite his eagerness before the opening, what could have possibly happened in such a short period?
It seems Max thought that being skilled as a hairstylist was enough and underestimated the importance of customer service. But running a shop is not that simple.
Emma sighed as she said that. Indeed, as Emma pointed out, running a salon isn't as simple as being skilled as a hairstylist. In customer service, the way you treat your clients significantly impacts the business's success or failure. It seems like Max is missing that basic understanding. So, how is Max doing?
He seems to be getting more frustrated because we're not getting customers, spending his days drinking. This way, he can't focus on his work, and we're only driving customers further away. For now, I handle the customers when they come in, but if the salon's reputation continues to drop, managing it will get even tougher.
Emma looked like she was about to cry, and I felt the same way. Okay, I'll talk to him next time.
Thank you.
Emma deeply bowed her head, then brushed back her long black hair. Emma, your hair always mesmerizes me. I changed the subject to lighten the somber mood. I have kept my long hair since I was in middle school, Emma said proudly. Since then, is there a special reason?
Do you know about hair donation?
Emma looked at me earnestly. Hair donation. I remember hearing about it at a hairstylist meeting, but I don't know much about it. Emma's eyes lit up as she answered.
It's about making wigs with real hair for children who've lost theirs due to congenital conditions, illness, or accidents. I aim to grow my hair and donate to organizations involved in this activity. Isn't it wonderful to be able to help someone? I once read a magazine feature about an actress who was growing her hair for hair donation, thinking maybe I could do that too.
Wow, Emma, you're so young and yet so admirable. I was overwhelmed by Emma's passion, which also deeply moved me. 6 months after marrying Max, Emma got pregnant. She has always been earnest, and she tends to overdo things if I'm not watching. Emma, this is the most crucial time. You mustn't overdo it. I repeatedly warned her, to the point of sounding like a broken record. Each time, Emma would lightly laugh and say, "Don't worry, I'll consult with the baby in my belly and make sure not to overexert myself." But to anyone looking, it didn't seem like she was resting at all. Ultimately, Emma kept working in the salon to support the household until she was nearly due, but Max's behavior had worsened more than ever before. What is he thinking? Every time I received an update from Emma, I felt my inadequacies as a mother. One day, after finishing work early, I went to check on my son and daughter-in-law's salon, just as Max was heading out. "Where are you going?"
I am going out to drink. It's not like we're getting any customers today.
Without any sign of panic, Max laughed off his situation as if it were a joke. The lack of customers had become the norm for Max, and he no longer showed any effort to improve the situation. "You're going to be a father soon." Even when I tried to admonish him, Max dismissively waved his hand as if shooing away a fly and hopped on his motorcycle. "We're not done talking. Try to put yourself in Emma's shoes for once."
Yeah, I'll think about it if I feel like it.
With that, Max laughed and sped off on his motorcycle, ignoring my words. Inside the salon, Emma was cleaning the floor.
Today, we managed to get just one customer.
Emma said with a cheerful smile, though she looked too worn for a pregnant woman. "Are you eating properly? Make sure you're getting enough nutrients."
Don't worry, Monica.
"I'm not saying it for you. I'm saying it for the baby you're carrying." My tone was harsher than usual, but I felt it was necessary to scold her. Emma seemed to understand my true intention and tearfully said, "Thank you." At times like this, how can the father not be there to support her? I wanted to scream at Max, who wasn't there, from the bottom of my heart. Emma shared that the salon's business was far from thriving. And Max has been out every night, spending money like water. I shouldn't have given him his father's inheritance. I regretted my decision, albeit too late. Despite her busy schedule, Emma never neglected her hair care. Gently stroking her belly, she said,
I want to teach the child I'm carrying the importance of being helpful to others.
I wanted to be a support for Emma. In place of my useless son, I decided to visit their apartment to help out with whatever Emma needed.
I'm always sorry to trouble you.
Don't worry about it. Just focus on the baby in your belly. It was my fault for the way I raised my son. Because of that, Emma was suffering. Perhaps this was my way of atoning, in my own small way. As summer ended, Emma went into labor earlier than expected and was rushed to the hospital. Even then, Max was unreachable, leaving us wondering where he might be wandering off to. I kept sending messages to Max, but no reply came, not even a read receipt. What is he doing at a time like this? Emma's parents had both passed away, leaving me as the only one who could be by her side. Don't worry, Emma, I'm here for you. To Emma, who was facing childbirth with all her might, I offered words of encouragement time and time again. After a long and difficult labor, the vigorous cries of the baby finally reached my ears. It's your baby. Well done, Emma. Tears welled up in my eyes, but Max, who should have been there, never showed up once. Winter came, marking the first for my grandson Tyler since his birth. The weather forecast reported a record-breaking cold snap. No wonder it was too cold to get out of bed. I wonder if they're okay. The first thing that came to mind was Emma and newborn Tyler. I hope they both haven't fallen ill from the cold. Worried, I sent Emmy a message on my smartphone that night. Are you and your baby catching a cold? However, when I sent her a message twice and thrice, she doesn't reply or even read it. I grew concerned that Emma might be too ill to respond. She's always been so responsible. I hope she's not overdoing it. After waiting another hour, I tried calling just to be sure, but the result was the same. This isn't good. Without a second thought, I put on a thick jacket and rushed out of my house, driving to the apartment complex where my son's family lived. Arriving at the apartment, I was shrouded in darkness. It's not uncommon for families to live overseas from the end of the year into the new year, but I hadn't heard anything about a trip from Emma and Max, and they shouldn't have the financial means for such a trip anyway. No response when I rang the doorbell, and imagining Emma collapsed inside, I immediately called the building manager to unlock the door.
I'll wait outside, so please let me know if you find anything.
I thanked the manager, stepping into the apartment. The place was dark, with only the faint glow of the street lights seeping in. I remembered there was a light switch right by the entrance. Relying on memory, I groped along the wall to find the switch. But no matter how many times I tried, the lights wouldn't respond. What's going on here? Overwhelmed with anxiety and irritation, I reluctantly used my smartphone's light to venture further inside. Emma, are you there? I called out in the living room, but there was no response. Maybe they were just out. Just as I was about to turn back, I thought I heard the faint sound of a baby from the bedroom. Emma, are you there? I immediately headed towards the bedroom, where I heard the noise. Emma. There was Emma, shivering from the cold, yet desperately wrapping newborn Tyler in a sheet to protect him. What happened? When I shone the light, I was shocked to find that Emma's long black hair, once her pride and joy, was now chopped off, leaving her almost bald. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. This is terrible. How did this happen? I took off my jacket and draped it over Emma. It's okay now. You don't have to force yourself to talk if it's difficult, but can you tell me what happened? Emma began to speak slowly. After Tyler was born, Max continued his daily escapades unchanged. Eventually, unable to pay the electricity bill, Em reached her limit and finally scolded Max. She wished he would show more awareness as a father. Emma had hoped for that, but her feelings never reached Max. In a rage, Max began to cut Emma's hair with a pair of practice hairdressing scissors he happened to find nearby. Emma initially tried to resist and said, "Stop." But, worried that any further resistance might accidentally harm Tyler, she stopped resisting. Max laughed and said, "Now you can't show your face in public." I was speechless at my son's cruel actions. Why didn't you tell me it had come to this?
I'm sorry, Monica. I'm so sorry.
Emma started blaming herself again. No, Emma, it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you. The one at fault here is Max. You haven't done anything wrong. Emma must have thought she shouldn't worry me and decided not to tell me anything. I hugged Emma tightly as she sobbed. The cause of all this was my indulgence in raising Max to this point. My heart burned with anger at my own inadequacy and at my son, who could not understand the pain of others. Taking a deep breath, I called Max.
Mom, long time no see. What's up all of a sudden?
Just wanted to hear your voice after so long. How are things on your end? Are Emma and Tyler doing well?
Of course, everyone's doing great.
No one's answering at home. Where are you? After a pause, as if he was concocting an excuse, Max's voice halted.
Actually, we're in Hawaii, the three of us. We'll be back next week.
Oh, Hawaii, that sounds nice. Max confidently lied, thinking I was clueless. What was the point of all the care I had provided for Max? After losing my husband at a young age, I worked tirelessly as a hairstylist. All to make Max a respectable person. When Max wanted to become independent as a hairstylist, I didn't hesitate to fulfill his wish. Yet, Max squandered the inheritance left by his father on his pleasures, completely disregarding my feelings. Moreover, to treat his own wife and child with such cruelty was something I could never forgive. My hope for Max turned into disappointment.
What do you want for a souvenir? Look forward to it.
Anything's fine. So you're coming back next week? Yes, safely, then.
Hey, Mom, you sound concerned. Is something wrong, Mom?
Max seemed to be saying something more, but I hung up without bothering to listen. After thanking the apartment manager who was waiting outside, I decided to take Emma and Tyler back to my house. Then, I made calls to every place I could think of. A week passed, and Max called my smartphone. He was in a good mood, saying he had just landed at the airport.
I'm back. I even bought souvenirs for you, Mom.
Max was trying to play the affectionate son now, but my heart wasn't fooled anymore. That's nice. I replied in a flat tone, but Max seemed not to notice anything was off. About an hour later, a taxi stopped in front of the apartment complex. Max, with distinct tan lines from sunglasses around his eyes, indicating a fun trip to Hawaii, began unloading a pile of luggage from the trunk. He took out his keys and headed towards what he thought was his home, expecting the door to open easily. He must have thought the door would open immediately once he inserted and turned the key. However, the key wouldn't fit into the lock, no matter how many times he tried.
What the hell is this? What's going on?
Max exclaimed in frustration. I approached him from behind and asked with a smile, "Was your trip to Hawaii enjoyable?" Though my heart was boiling with anger.
Mom, you're here.
Max seemed relieved to see me, misunderstanding my presence.
Listen, Mom, I just got back and tried to get into the house, but the key won't fit. It must be some kind of prank by Emma because I went on a trip alone. She's probably mad at me.
He wanted to play the victim, blaming everything on Emma. Leaving Emma, who just gave birth, and newborn Tyler behind. What were you doing?
I've told you 100 times. I was with my family in Hawaii.
Didn't you just say you went on the trip alone? I pointed out his contradiction, leaving Max speechless. How could you lie about going to Hawaii with your family? Emma was left without electricity, shivering in the cold, holding Tyler close to protect him. And to think you cut off Emma's long hair she cherished so much, Doesn't it hurt you as a human being?
I admit that was wrong, but right now, I want to get inside. It's freezing here.
Max showed no remorse, rubbing his arms exaggeratedly. The cold Emma and Tyler experienced wasn't anything like this. Plus, you no longer have a home here. I've already canceled the apartment lease. It's time you find your own place to live.
Cancelled. Why would you do something like that?
Max panicked, but the apartment lease was in my name. I decided to take Max to a nearby cafe to talk things over, as we couldn't keep standing outside. Max sipped his coffee silently, probably unable to taste anything. With a pale expression, Max's gaze shifted back and forth between my face and the coffee. Struggling with money to the point you couldn't even pay the electricity bill, and yet you went to Hawaii.
That was.
Max frowned, eventually starting to explain his selfish reasoning. Right after opening his shop, Max wanted to impress his friends and female clients he picked up at the store, so he spent his late husband's inheritance on leisure activities. Max knew that such spending would quickly deplete even a large inheritance. However, having acquired a taste for the power of money, Max continued to buy gifts for his friends and take them on trips, even going into debt after exhausting the inheritance. Quite generous for a failing business.
No worries, I'm a professional hairstylist. If I put in the effort, clients will come flooding in, and I'll be able to support my family.
Max confidently replied, but where his confidence came from was a mystery to me. As for your salon, it's already been sold. I sold all the equipment too. It's too late to try to get it back now. I shattered his baseless confidence.
That's a lie. Why would you do something like that?
Max slammed the table, his face turning red. Oh, you cared about the salon. I thought you had abandoned it since you left everything to Emma. Besides, I bought that building and land in my name. You have no right to complain now.
But I was gathering clients. I had a plan.
Max had the look of a child about to cry, one who couldn't get the toy he wanted. If you're so confident in your skills, you'll be able to start over from zero quickly. After coldly turning my back on my son, I left the coffee shop, leaving behind only the money for the coffee on the table. A month passed. Both Emma and I had been avoiding any contact with Max, but unpleasant rumors inevitably reached a parent's ears. After being rejected by me, Max apparently turned to his friends, desperately asking for money. However, those who had gathered around Max were initially attracted by his wealth. Predictably, none of them were willing to help now that Max had lost his financial power. Furthermore, he got reported to the police for stalking the female clients he picked up in his salon. Although he got off with a stern warning from the police, Max, having realized his lack of genuine connections, completely vanished from our lives. By now, he's likely living alone, haunted by the harsh demands of creditors. All of this was the result of seeds Max had sown himself. My anger towards Max wasn't just about his reckless spending. Even more unforgivable was how he neglected Emma and Tyler, pushing them into a life of hardship. And then there was the fact that Max had selfishly chopped off the long hair that Emma had been growing and cherishing for years. That foolish act might have robbed unknown children, who had been eagerly awaiting Emma's hair, of a brighter future. As a hairstylist myself, Max's actions are inexcusable. It will take a long time for Max to truly understand the pain Emma endured. Emma herself wouldn't speak of her heartache, but it's clear she's not unscathed. She likely keeps her feelings to herself to avoid worrying me. Wanting to do something for her, I reached out through my connections in the beauty industry to have a wig made specifically for Emma. It won't make up for my son's actions, but please use this.
Thank you, Monica.
Emma said with a smile, but tears were rolling down her cheeks. Using my back pain as an excuse, I asked Emma to help out in my salon. She threw herself into the work, perhaps trying to forget her emotional pain.
Hello, Tyler.
The regular customer greeted, and Tyler, lying in his cradle, laughed out loud. Now, some customers come just to see Tyler. He's like a little mascot for the salon. Slowly regaining her physical and emotional strength, Emma has started taking steps toward officially divorcing Max.
Seeing Emma's smile makes us all feel like we've turned back the clock by 20 years.
One of the regulars said it in jest, but there's no denying that Emma and Tyler's presence has brightened up the shop. Drawn by Emma's cheerful atmosphere, many other mothers have become regulars. All right, let's make today a great day too. Come in. Good morning. The salon is filled with smiles again today. In a corner, Tyler is sleeping soundly, breathing softly, and looking adorable.
I've got a promotion exam at work, and I need to buy the study materials for it. Also, if I don't do overtime, my salary will be reduced.
Mike said while we were discussing how to manage our finances for our life together after getting married. He has to study for the promotion exam, so the money he can bring into the household will decrease. I thought it was fine since both of us are working. However, right after that, I started feeling uneasy about Mike's behavior. He was using an unfamiliar app on his phone, and his overtime suddenly increased. Most of all, when we went out to eat, he wouldn't take a single bite of food. I was also curious about the waiter's strange hand movements. I felt like I had seen those hand movements somewhere before. If my suspicion is right, it could turn out to be pretty bad. I left the bar for a drink and distanced myself from Mike. I decided to uncover his suspicious activities. Thinking nobody would notice was a huge mistake. My name is Emily Wilson, and I'm turning 38 this year. I work as a tax accountant, and both my career and personal life are fulfilling. I can proudly say that I'm enjoying both my professional and personal life now, but it was quite a challenging journey to get here. When I graduated from college, the economy was in a slump, and I struggled to find a job. I felt a strong pressure to work properly and become a part of the workforce, which led me to feel like I was just spinning my wheels at that time. Eventually, I landed a job offer from a small company. Honestly, I was reluctantly working there. However, that's when my turning point came. While working and interacting with other companies, I realized that many workplaces lacked vitality. Many companies were not able to increase their profits as they hoped and were struggling with what to do next. I wanted to help improve these companies' morale and sales, to increase the number of workplaces where people could work with a smile. Driven by this desire, I decided to pursue a career where I could contribute to the growth and performance of companies, which led me to become a tax accountant after years of study. I became a tax accountant at the age of 34. Switching from an employee in a small company to a tax accountant was quite an unusual path. Thanks to that, I finally found what I truly wanted to do. Of course, this journey made my work life very rewarding, but I felt something was missing in my personal life. What am I missing? I realized it was the absence of a partner who could be there for me, someone to share and solve problems with. My days off were spent alone, watching movies or shopping. My friends started having families and getting married, so our days out together became less frequent. While I do enjoy my alone time, I can't help but think how wonderful it would be to share these moments with someone special. At my friend's suggestion, I signed up for a dating site app. Among several people I messaged, there was one man with whom I felt a particular connection. That man turned out to be my future husband, Mike Smith. Mike worked for a well-known electronics company and seemed to be good at his job. Our message exchanges were smooth and effortless, which left a good impression on me. When we first met in person, I could easily picture myself being with him. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, but it doesn't really feel like the first time since we've been messaging on the app, right?
True, it almost feels like we've known each other for a long time. Was this one having the right chemistry felt like? Our conversation flowed naturally, both in tempo and content. I didn't know being in a relaxed relationship could feel this comfortable. And Mike was very suave, which I found appealing.
You might be surprised since we've just met, but I would like to date you with the intention of getting married, Emily.
I've always wanted to be with someone wonderful like you, Mike, so I'm truly happy. It didn't take long to move from dating with marriage in mind to the actual marriage. I will never forget Mike proposing to me at a beautiful seaside restaurant with a bouquet of roses.
Emily, I will make you happy. Please stay with me. Would you marry me?
Yes, I'd love to. I want to be with you forever. I finally married Mike at 38. It might have been a late spring compared to others, but marriage is not about age. When and whom you marry and what makes you happy is the most important thing. I was certain I could be happy with him. However, it seems I was the only one who thought this way. A faint shadow was looming over our marriage, yet I was reluctant to acknowledge it. Mike and I both worked, and we decided it was better to have some personal spending money, so we opted for an allowance system. We agreed to put the necessary funds into a common purse and left the rest for each of us to spend freely. When we discussed how much money to contribute in the future, Mike raised a concerning issue.
About the money we put in the common purse, is it okay if I contribute less than Emily?
What do you mean? If you don't mind, can I ask why? Then, hesitantly but finally, Mike spoke up.
There's a promotion exam at work coming up, and I need to buy materials for it. Also, if I leave work without doing overtime, my salary will be reduced.
Oh, I see. Preparing for a promotion exam while working must be tough indeed. I understand. I'll help in any way I can.
Really? That's so like you, Emily.
Mike exclaimed with a clap of his hands. Of course, it's an important exam for your future career. I want you to be able to give it your best. I remembered the mental struggle I had when I was preparing for my tax accountant exam. Having quit my job to focus on studying at that time, I could imagine how difficult it must be to study for an exam while working. Don't worry about the money. Focus on preparing for your promotion exam, Mike.
Thank you. You're amazing, Emily.
So, when is the exam?
It's in 8 months. It's a bit far off, but…
As Mike expresses relief at being able to focus on his studies, I reassured myself that this was the right thing to do. However, right after we agreed on this, Mike's work behavior drastically changed. What? You have a business trip the day after tomorrow? Right after we decided how much to contribute to our shared finances, his business trips for work suddenly increased.
It can't be helped. It's a work assignment.
But you need to prepare for the upcoming promotion exam, right? And yet, there are so many business trips.
Are you saying I should defy orders and not go on the business trip?
Mike stared at me as he said that. It's not that. I just got worried.
Then please don't interfere. How well I can perform here is what matters.
Okay, but don't overdo it. It's often said that men become oblivious to everything else once they're focused on work, and Mike seemed to fit that mold.
I've been with this company for a long time, and I want to expand my role even further in the future.
It would be great to see you achieving more. I'm here to support you. Mike looked satisfied, but I was oblivious to the underlying issues. He started bringing his work home, so I always made sure not to disturb him while he was focused. It felt restrictive, but I did it for Mike. Then, one quiet evening, the notification sound of a smartphone echoed in the living room. Oh, that's Mike's phone. The notification sounds beeped continuously just as Mike went to the bathroom. I thought I should inform him if it was an important work call. When I casually picked up his phone, something felt off. A glittering character on a light blue background was displayed prominently on the screen. Mike usually used his phone only for work, so this app seemed out of place. Could it be an app for meeting someone of the opposite sex? But that wouldn't make sense now that we're married. Just as I was pondering this, Mike came back from the bathroom.
Hey, why are you?
Oh, your phone was ringing nonstop, so I thought I'd give it to you in case it was work-related.
Hey, don't do more than you need to.
He rushed over and snatched his phone out of my hand. With a sharp snap, the phone transferred to Mike's hand. I'm sorry, but you don't have to snatch it like that.
Keep out of it. I haven't announced our marriage at work. It would be shocking if you suddenly answered my phone.
He explained while hastily checking his phone screen. Indeed, in a large company like Mike's, not everyone would know who's married and who's not. Even though I just tried to pass him his phone, he became irritable. Maybe his work isn't going well. Mike's mood often reflects how things are going at work, so it's probably the case this time too. After that day, I found myself being more cautious around Mike. I don't want to be accused of not doing a good job because of me. But then, perhaps noticing my concern, Mike approached me.
Hey, are you free after work this Thursday?
I'll probably finish around 7, but is there something special?
Well, I felt bad about the other day. How about we go out for a drink as an apology?
Seeing his awkward smile, I felt a wave of relief and quickly agreed. That sounds good, but it's unusual for you to suggest going out for drinks. What's the occasion? As I asked playfully, Mike seemed to relax and started talking.
Don't say that. I've just made some progress with a new client, and it went well. I wanted to share the happiness with you, Emily.
Oh, that's good news. I thought you were dealing with some tough project because you look so serious, but I'm glad it turned out well.
How about we meet at our usual station and then head to the bar from there?
Before we got married, we used to visit various places and enjoyed bar hopping. We both liked having conversations without holding back and savored the pairing of drinks and snacks as a hobby. Lately, we hadn't had the chance to explore new places due to our busy schedules, but this seemed like the perfect opportunity. With frequent changes in the shops around our memory-filled station, we might discover some interesting new spots. I was really looking forward to the day of our date. To make sure I wasn't late for our meetup, I finished work earlier than usual. I remembered how we used to go bar hopping in this area before we got married. I was excited to remember that. We always chose a place based on our mood at the moment, making each visit unique.
Hey, over here. So, where shall we go today?
As we walked side by side through the bustling streets, a particular sign caught my attention. The decoration was modest, but each piece of ornamentation seemed sophisticated. The tile work was also delicately patterned, exuding a sense of style. The sign marked open-listed delicious-sounding dishes and the bartender's recommendations, handwritten with care. It appeared that the bartender's favorite drinks were on offer today. Seeing it for the first time, I felt drawn to it. Hey, how about we try this place today? Although I had passed by here many times, the discovery filled me with joy.
Really? This place? Shouldn't we check out a few others? There are plenty of bars around.
But this place has a variety of drinks and dishes, and it looks stylish. It might be nice to try something different for a change.
Huh? Have you ever wanted a stylish place? It's not like you to suddenly go for such ones. I can't keep up with this.
Though there was no compelling reason to pick that particular bar, his strong refusal made me wonder if there was something more to it. I thought this place would be nice, but you don't like it, do you? Mike sighed heavily, as if giving up.
All right, as you wish.
His petulant behavior troubled me. Was my preference for this bar really such a bad choice? I couldn't understand the recent fluctuations in Mike's mood. Upon entering, we saw a bar counter and tables, with a bartender and a female apprentice, identified by her badge, standing nearby. I caught a fleeting glance from the bartender, which felt oddly unsettling. Perhaps because it had just opened? There were no other customers. It was like we had the place to ourselves. We took a seat at the back and unfolded the food menu. Let's start with some appetizers and maybe a whiskey soda.
Okay.
I closed the menu in my hand and placed our order using the touch panel nearby. It's modern, isn't it? Ordering at a bar with a tablet. It's nice not having to call over a waiter.
Yay.
Mike's response seemed somewhat distracted. The female apprentice bought us her food and drinks. She glanced at my face, then made a puzzled expression. Was there something on my face? Maybe my fatigue from work was showing? I took the dishes from her anyway. The food looked delicious. Assortment of cheese, pickles, and hot potato skins. I was torn about what to eat first. In front of Mike and me were the whiskey sodas we ordered. To Mike's work success, cheers! I tried to lift the mood, raising my glass with enthusiasm. Then, I eagerly started on the food in front of me. I had missed lunch due to a sudden work task, so I was famished. With such appetizing food in front of me, I couldn't resist. Also, I needed to put something in my stomach to prevent getting tipsy too quickly. I reached for the potato skins first. The hot sauce and creamy cheese were incredibly delicious, warming my chilled body. Glancing at Mike, I saw him sipping his whiskey soda slowly. It was unusual for him to drink his whiskey soda in such small sips, and his gaze seemed to wander. Besides, he was upset and had shifty eyes. "Aren't you eating?" Was Mike not fond of potatoes? While pondering this, I served myself another portion. "If you're not eating, I will. I missed lunch today." While laughing and serving myself some potatoes, I caught the eye of a woman who was making a strange gesture. She was rotating her right ring finger on the palm of her left hand, which was facing upwards. Thinking about that peculiar movement, it dawned on me that it might be sign language for drugs. She was positioned so that only I could see her, implying she had something to convey just to me. Realizing she was using sign language to communicate with me specifically, I hastily put down my potatoes and headed to the bathroom with my smartphone. "Sorry, I need to use the restroom real quick."
Are you feeling all right?
"Just a moment. Keep eating." Feeling as if my feet were glued to the floor, I sensed it might be better to leave the bar. Perhaps it was best if I left first. Pretending it was work-related, I quickly returned from the bathroom and spoke to Mike. "Sorry, I've got to go. Work called."
Oh, really? That's too bad.
"Yo, sorry. Are you going to stay and drink?"
Yay, might as well. It's been a while since I've been out.
Pretending to go back to work, I decided to stay at a business hotel instead. What the female apprentice at the bar was trying to say, Mike's expressions and his gestures, I felt curious and sensed that this was not going to end without incident. Overthinking made my head feel like it was going to explode, so I browsed websites on my smartphone to calm down. While watching the news, I noticed an intriguing advertisement. The ad for an app titled How to Meet Your Soulmate was the same one installed on Mike's phone. That's it. The notification that wouldn't stop on his phone. I thought it was work-related. I instinctively covered my gaping mouth with both hands. Should a married person even keep a dating app installed? Moreover, I know these kinds of apps are all the rage now, being released one after another in city advertisements. Therefore, people wanting to meet others must be using multiple apps. Given Mike's personality, he would be seeking efficiency, probably juggling several apps. It seems unlikely that he would have just one app downloaded. I had a bad feeling, so I decided to check what kind of app it was. Then, I discovered numerous apps. Though it was just a glimpse, some seemed familiar, as if they were on Mike's phone. Mike is meticulous and detailed, so it's hard to imagine him leaving unused apps lying around. I downloaded an app that seemed to be the same as the one Mike was using and registered as a member. That light blue app briefly shone on Mike's phone. I registered my name and a simple profile and started using it immediately. If Mike was using this app, it might unveil his true nature. I told Mike that I couldn't finish work and stayed overnight at a business hotel, then went to work directly from there, executing my plan. The next day, I took a personal day off and ventured out from the hotel into the city. I bought a brown long-haired wig and a hat, then uploaded my profile picture. Crafting my profile information so as not to be recognized, I quickly started searching for matches. Narrowing down by location, age, and interests, the number of potential matches decreased. I put in the name of a game that Mike likes, and all at once the number of matches was limited. Though unexpected, as I looked through profiles and icons, I discovered one that seemed to be Mike and easily matched with him. To avoid being discovered, I exchanged messages with him. In the app, Mike talked about being single, working for a certain company, and enjoying soccer and barbecues on his days off. Clearly, he didn't realize he was talking to me. I confirmed that Mike was using the app to meet up, and I went on my next mission. On Friday night, after returning home, I placed a lost item tag in our car, used by both of us. Just to be sure, I also placed it in the pocket of my cardigan left in the car. Then, I returned home, acting as if nothing had happened. Given Mike's frequent use of dating apps, he probably wasn't just talking to one person. I'm home. Work was crazy after that. Do you have any plans for this weekend, Mike?
I have to go out for work, so it doesn't look like I'll get the weekend off.
Really? That sounds tough. There's a sale going on, so I plan to go shopping by myself.
All right, have a good time.
As I said it, I glanced at Mike heading to the shower with his phone in his hand. In fact, I already knew that Mike had been searching on the family computer for tourist spots in the neighboring town. He had looked up ferry schedules, a delicious bakery, parks with nighttime views, and even hotels. Moreover, his search history included "she's the one" gift and 5th date proposal lines, so the woman he was planning to date this time must be his true love. I decided to make my move the following weekend.
Well, I'm going to work. You know, working on a day off is the worst.
That's true. Then you have a good day. After seeing Mike drive away, I started my move to catch him in the act of cheating. I booked a room in the hotel Mike had searched for and first monitored his movements from there. The lost item tag's movement confirmed he was indeed heading to the neighboring town. I watched the pin move to the ferry terminal and a chic cafe. Tonight, at the park with a night view, would be where I'd confront him. It was easy to imagine him parking the car near the park to enjoy the night view. I waited until evening to go to the park and looked around. Then, a familiar car entered the parking lot. Mike and a woman I don't know got out of her car. Mike had his arm around the waist of the unfamiliar woman, escorting her to a spot with a good view of the night scene. After watching Mike and the woman walk away from the car, I got into the back seat. Crouched under the seat, I waited for the two to return. Soon, the satisfied pair returned from viewing the night scene.
It was really beautiful. I'm thrilled to think about the wonderful night ahead with you.
Mike said as he sat in the driver's seat. The woman, presumably his affair partner, took the passenger seat. I stood up from the back seat and put my hands around Mike's body like a hug. Hey, what's all this about? Mike turned around with a guilty look.
Well, it's just that.
So, you plan to propose to your girlfriend on the 5th date at this park with a view? Thought you could smoothly carry on with your affair? In the dim car, Mike's face drained of color. His pale face in the darkness was scarier than a ghost. You've been deceiving me and cheating? And you've been drugging drinks at the bar with your buddy bartender, haven't you?
What? Why would say that?
Mike was still flustered. Why? Want to know? At that moment, he fell silent, helpless. Your behavior at that bar was very weird. When I checked the reviews, there were several women who had gotten terribly drunk. That seemed odd because all the comments were from women.
So what do you want from me?
Mike still hasn't figured out his situation. He came out strong. Is that bartender your accomplice? He's quite the schemer. After visiting again, I spoke with a female apprentice who told me about the women you brought along.
The women I brought.
Yes, each time a different woman, all ending up barely able to walk, dead drunk. They say women get drunk faster than men, but isn't it strange to be that intoxicated at a bar? Mike bit his lip, at a loss for words. The woman working there thought it was just her imagination at first, but she began to see a pattern. She discreetly informed me,
Just because someone got drunk while I was there, you suspect me?
I was appalled by Mike's pull excuse. I pulled out a pen. It was the pen I had secretly placed in Mike's bag. This pen has a recording function. I turned it on, so it recorded what you talked about at the bar. You understand what this means, right? Mike's face turned pale. It was an expression I had never seen before. Without hesitation, I pressed the play button. The recording captured his gratitude for spiking the drinks to make them more intoxicating. I can't believe you did this. I can't trust you anymore. Overwhelmed by being called out, Mike reacted with furious anger.
You should be grateful I married a leftover like you, sneaking around like some detective.
Mike spat angrily, slamming his bag onto the ground. The woman next to him glared at me and said something outrageous.
You're the one binding Mike, aren't you? It's because of your insidious actions that you're disliked. I would never do such things.
The woman, who introduced herself as Julie, was obviously Mike's affair partner. She leaned close to him like a lover. And it's like a little puppy barking.
I knew he was married, but I'm more suitable for him. His other women were just flings. I'm the one who will be happy with Mike.
More suitable for him?
He works at a manufacturing company and is about to get promoted. He said I could be a stay-at-home wife, and he'd make the best husband.
She is a worker, but she doesn't seem to think about it. She was unaware of her mistake. The man you want to marry is about to be fired. Your future husband is fired. Julie's face showed shock, quickly turning to uproar.
That's a lie. Mike getting fired.
Do you say that because you are disappointed that I cheated on you?
I showed her a printout. I had to contact his company before. Turns out he lied about business trips to go on romantic getaways with you. The printout contained evidence of his false reporting, including schedules and fake business trip receipts. The company was shocked by his conduct and is about to terminate his employment contract.
Terminate the contract? But he's supposed to become an assistant manager.
I laughed at the absurdity. You didn't know the truth. He's just a contract employee. Julie looked lost, unsure of what to believe. I don't see the appeal of a man who gets women drunk for his pleasure and is just a temp worker, but if that's what you want, he's all yours.
No, I don't want a man who's getting fired.
Julie retorted, then tried to walk away from the passenger seat. I put my foot in front of Julie's. Julie fell hard and hit her face on the ground.
How could you do that?
You knew he was married and still pursued an affair, even trying to steal him away. You were prepared for the high cost of infidelity, right? Now Julie's face turned pale.
I'm a woman and can't pay alimony. I don't have that kind of money.
It's shameful to say you don't have money because you're a woman at your age. It's undoubtedly your own fault due to lack of ability.
Hey, you don't need to go that far.
Mike said, wrapping his arms around Julie defensively. I've had enough of your farce. A woman who robs married men. A man who conspires with a bartender to intoxicate women for his own desires. You two look great together. I walked away from Mike and Julie.
I'm a woman, so obviously I can't pay.
Mike will take care of everything, right?
Hey, these days are gender equality. There's no men will or women can't anymore. Take care of your own issues.
How awful. Are you betraying me?
I heard the two arguing behind me. I was surprised to hear the word betray from Julie, but that no longer had anything to do with me. I returned home once and left with only the necessary luggage. Mike called many times wanting to reconcile, but I ignored all his attempts. Once, I answered thinking it was an unknown number, but it was Mike.
Please, let's not get divorced.
Are you in any position to say you don't want a divorce?
But I can't live if we divorce now. Wait until I find another job.
I sighed heavily. You want me to support you until you're reemployed? No way. Cry to your mistress. Then Mike yelled in desperation.
I can't do something that pathetic.
But I was not one to be intimidated. Pathetic? Who's the one that did such pathetic things to me? Mike fell silent. Anyway, I'll have my lawyer contact you. I was able to claim alimony through the lawyer. However, since Mike was jobless after contract termination, his parents had to cover for him. Now, he's working hard at a construction site from morning till night, as introduced by his parents. His bad attitude and snide remarks have made him a target of disdain among his seniors. As for Julie, she was fired from her job for having an affair and is known for shouting I did nothing wrong. Until the end, as I heard from a former co-worker. After that, Mike and I officially divorced, and I've been enjoying my life alone. Work and personal life are going well, and divorcing Mike was the best decision. Recently, as a tax accountant, I've been getting more clients, many of whom say, I'm glad I asked for your help. When I hear that, I feel good about the work I do. Marrying Mike was a mistake, but it taught me to choose my own life, so I have no regrets. By chance, I met the apprentice from that bar at a mall's food court, and we hit it off. That encounter led us to occasionally meet for coffee. She shared how happy she was to use the sign language she learned in Sign Language Club in such a way, which left a deep impression on me. Interestingly, she had no idea I was Mike's wife, making it a funny story we still talk about. Now, living my life without any issues, I think things turned out for the best.
On the phone, my sister was gloating as usual. She seemed to really enjoy tormenting me and making me feel miserable. I could easily imagine the spiteful smirk on her face.
I'm getting married, you know? I'll be expecting a gift of $10,000 from you.
The man she's marrying is my ex-fiancé. Yes, incredibly, she stole my fiancé from me. What a terrible woman. It's really sickening to think I'm related to her by blood. But to me now, she's no enemy. Her gloating is just laughable. I won't let her have her way anymore. I responded as cheerfully as I could. Sure, I'll be there with my husband, the CEO who makes $300 million a year. I could picture the confused look on her face. Before she could ask any probing questions, I hung up. It's going to be a tearful wedding. Tears of regret, not joy. My name is Emily, and I'm 33 years old. Ever since I can remember, I've been trampled on by my sister. My sister, Lisa, is 2 years older than me. She's capable of doing everything without a hitch, and she's both beautiful and stylish. But in my opinion, her inner self is just vile. She always ridiculed me.
I refuse to acknowledge a failure like you as my sister, you know?
I still remember her cold gaze. Being looked down upon, the young me was incredibly hurt. I was always made to feel small because everything I did was criticized. Lisa, standing tall and proud, and me, with my back hunched. We were such contrasting sisters. There's no denying Lisa is pretty. Both our parents always fussed over her, the good-looking one. Meanwhile, plain old me was ignored. The difference in treatment was clear. Looking back, it's like we were the very embodiment of light and shadow. Lisa was popular at school, too. She was good at studies and sports, and pretty. Cheerful and bright, she was the center of attention. The typical top of the social hierarchy, her influence at school was huge. You might think I benefited somehow from being her sister, but no, that was far from the case. She despised me for being slow-witted, so I faced losses rather than gains.
Don't you dare speak to me at school. I really hate you, you know?
It was unbearable hearing her say that in front of everyone. Everyone around me saw me as the family-approved punching bag. There was no smile on my face during my school days. That's for sure. Whenever my sister interacted with me, her attitude was always the worst, and her language was incredibly foul. I was the only one who knew her ugly true nature. I don't think even our parents knew the full extent. In middle school, I stood up to my sister just once. I couldn't just take it anymore. I felt I had to retaliate somehow. Stop taking your stress out on me all the time.
What? How dare you, the younger sister, talk back to me?
As a result, I ended up being treated even worse than before. It was then that my things began to be used without permission or even thrown away. Whether it was school-related or not, my sister used and treated my belongings however she wanted. Stop it! Please, at least don't mess up my textbooks and stationery.
It's your fault for being so cheeky. You need to reflect and apologize.
I think our parents must have been aware of the nature of our fights. They must have known that my sister was unilaterally exerting her power and tormenting me, the weaker one. But they did nothing about it. As long as it made my sister happy, what happened to me didn't matter to them. Our other relatives were no different. No one would reprimand my sister. No one would help me. I still despise my parents and relatives for that. They are as guilty as my sister. My sister would act sweet in front of the family but show her demonic nature only to me. My parents, who must have had an inkling of her two-faced nature, chose to ignore it. Relatives, too, sighed as an issue between the parties involved and opted to remain bystanders. In such a toxic environment, it was inevitable that I, a naive child, would develop a distrust of people. I became isolated, withdrawn, and as I grew up, I turned into an increasingly introverted and quiet woman. I wanted to cut ties with my sister, parents, and relatives as soon as possible and start a completely new life. That became a vague dream of mine. Imagining myself living freely, liberated from all ties, helped me preserve my fragile mind. However, an incident that cemented the hostile relationship between my sister and me happened. When she was a freshman in college and I was a sophomore in high school. At that time, I was at the peak of happiness. I had a boyfriend for the first time in my life. I was surprised myself that someone as negative as me could have a boyfriend. His name was Joe. We were in the same grade, both library committee members, and similarly introverted. I think our wavelengths just matched. We got to know each other through a slight connection and quickly became close. Some people teased us, calling us the gloomy couple, but we ignored them. Let them say whatever they want. No one could interfere with us. That's how strongly I felt. I was so intoxicated with the first sense of fulfillment that I seemed to lose sight of everything around me. And then I made a mistake. Carried away, I revealed to my parents about my boyfriend. I've been dating a boy my age. His name is Joe. My parents always compared me to my sister, calling me slow and making fun of me. I wanted to prove to them that I could get a boyfriend too. There's no doubt that my heart was overflowing with such show-off feelings at the time. It might have been wrong of me. A while after summer vacation began, the daily messages from Joe suddenly stopped. What's wrong? Did something happen? I asked in emails, but there was no reply. Normally, you would check with mutual friends in such a situation. But unfortunately, we didn't have any. I didn't have the courage to visit his house either. Exactly 2 weeks after the communication ceased, Joe emailed me saying goodbye. It wasn't a joke. I couldn't just accept being broken up with without knowing why. I called him to find out why he suddenly wanted to break up. Please tell me the reason. I can't accept this without understanding why. Joe just kept repeating, I'm really sorry. In the end, I never got a detailed explanation. All I could do was accept the breakup he announced. From that afternoon until midnight, I cried nonstop without eating anything. A few days later, when I visited a mall for an errand, I encountered a scene that made me doubt my eyes. My sister and Joe were walking arm in arm. What the hell is this? What's going on? I yelled right there, not caring about the eyes of passersby. I was boiling with anger towards my sister and Joe. My sister pulled Joe closer as if to flaunt him and smirk.
Joe says he prefers me over you.
I can't believe this. Who normally steals their sister's boyfriend?
Say whatever you want. A gloomy loser like you having a boyfriend is a century too early.
Joe just hung his head, looking sorry and not moving. He seemed ashamed of his fickleness, yet also resigned. I later found out that my parents had told my sister about Joe. Upon learning that I had a boyfriend, my sister said it was presumptuous of me. The surprise came next. During her summer break from college, my sister approached Joe multiple times. Joe, tempted by my experienced sister, quickly fell into her hands.
Well, we'll take our leave then. Being alone suits you better.
I was overwhelmed with rage. What made me even angrier was what happened afterward. The day after we met at the mall, my sister dumped Joe. I think she felt satisfied with the harassment she inflicted on me and no longer needed him. Joe called me wanting to meet and apologize in person, saying he wanted to start over. There was no way we could. I rejected him and confirmed our breakup again. I couldn't stop crying. Until my college days and up to my 5th year as a working adult, there wasn't much to write about. I excluded my sister from my life and lived trying not to remember the unpleasant things. Since I still resented my parents and relatives, I didn't go back home, not even for the holidays or Christmas. The only time I willingly returned home was when a gathering for adults was held in my hometown. I had resolved never to set foot there again after that event. At the time, my sister was a senior in college, enjoying her last year to the fullest. She came back at the same time as me and got drunk, rambling on and on.
My current boyfriend is the worst. Can you believe he's cheating on me, even though he has me?
The world is vast, and there are always better people out there. It seemed there were many women at university prettier than my sister. She vented her frustration about not always being the top until she was satisfied. I got my second boyfriend when I became comfortable with my job and had some breathing space in life. We met through a friend's introduction. His name was Tyler, an elite banker.
Both my parents are bankers, so I guess I'm a thoroughbred.
Saying that he liked curious-looking women like me. He always made me feel good. Because of the bitter memories from high school, I told no one about my boyfriend. After a year of dating, Tyler proposed to me, and I was finally able to get engaged. I thought I could finally be happy. I decided not to tell my parents or sister about the engagement. I shared with Tyler and his parents in detail how my family had made me suffer. I thought they would surely sympathize and understand my desire to cut ties with my family. That's what I was thinking, but a few weeks after the engagement, the unbelievable happened again. My sister stole Tyler from me, repeating the nightmare of high school. When I suddenly couldn't contact him, Tyler broke up with me after a while.
Emily, I'm sorry. I've fallen for someone else.
You're kidding, right? Tell me it's not my sister, please.
How did you know?
I was utterly confused. I had kept my relationship with him a secret. I hadn't told anyone in my family, nor had I planned to. Yet somehow, my sister found out. Why though? What caused this? That's when I started to consider revenge and thoroughly investigated my sister, especially how she got my information. Life is strange. In the process of taking action, I also had a special encounter. Time flew by, and 3 years after Tyler broke up with me, I received a call from my sister. She was getting married to Tyler.
We're getting married. I'll be expecting a wedding gift of $10,000.
It was going to be a garden wedding. She was gloating as usual. After all, she was marrying my ex-fiancé. The perfect ingredient to torment me and make me miserable. I could easily imagine her spiteful smile, much to my disgust. What a terrible woman. It's just too painful to know that I'm related to someone like her by blood. But 3 years can change a person and their destiny. To me now, my sister is no longer an enemy. Her gloating is just ridiculous. I won't let her have her way anymore. I responded as brightly as I could. Sure, I'll go with my husband, the CEO whose company makes $300 million a year. I could picture my sister's confused face. Before she could ask any detailed questions, I ended the call. The wedding day would surely be filled with tears. Tears of regret, not joy. On the day of my sister's wedding, I revealed that I was already married. Not just my sister, but also my parents and other relatives were surprised.
Why didn't you tell your family something so important?
I didn't want to. You weren't the kind of family I felt like contacting. That's the only reason. Everyone was stunned by my blunt response. I felt a sense of satisfaction. Then I called my husband, who was waiting at the edge of the garden. Walking towards me was a tall man with a commanding presence, the very image of a businessman. My husband, James, had turned a near-bankrupt local factory into a global enterprise. He had expanded into many areas, and now the group's annual sales were up to $300 million. James, having achieved great business success, exuded the aura of a victor. He overwhelmed my relatives present there.
Nice to meet you all. I am James, Emily's partner. I apologize for the late introduction. Congratulations on your wedding, Lisi.
What do you mean, congratulations? How dare you marry someone's sister behind their back? Isn't it common sense to ask for her hand properly?
Of course, I intended to do so, but Emily stopped me. I understood why after she explained. Lisi, you're truly despicable.
What do you mean despicable? What are you talking about?
From childhood, you tormented Emily. And even as teenagers and adults, you stole her boyfriends and flaunted marrying them. Isn't such behavior despicable?
Lisa, looking up at the towering James, was at a loss for words, as everything he said was true. The wedding guests started murmuring, turning their attention to the bride's dark side being exposed. James didn't stop, encouraged by my gesture to continue.
And it's the same with you, the parents always siding with Lisu and neglecting Emily. And the relatives too. Don't you know the meaning of fairness? Looking back, isn't it natural for Emily to disown you?
No one could respond. My parents hung their heads like scolded children. Despite being much older than James, then Tyler, the man who was my fiancé until 3 years ago, approached. Having been seduced by Lisa to leave me, an elite banker. When he realized James was speaking, Tyler started to grovel.
James, what brings you here? Today is my wedding.
Hey Tyler. I know, congratulations. Your wife told mine to bring a $10,000 wedding gift. I wanted to see what kind of woman would say such a thing.
What, Lisa, you did? And wife, James's wife, could it be?
Tyler looked back and forth between me and James, bewildered. When I nodded in affirmation, Tyler's mouth hung open in shock. So Tyler, James, a top executive of a major corporation, was someone he could not afford to displease. Discovering that the woman he discarded had married such an influential person naturally threw him off balance. James, on my behalf, continued to sternly address Tyler, who was visibly flustered.
We always appreciate the services of your bank, and you've had your share of troubles dealing with us. But Tyler, it's pretty low of you, isn't it?
Low, you say?
You were engaged to Emily, right? Yet you chose her sister over her. Didn't you feel any remorse towards Emily? And to invite her to your wedding, that's in poor taste, to say the least. I never thought you were that kind of person.
No, it's not like that. I was against inviting Emily, but…
Save your excuses. I don't want to entrust our group's finances to a bank that employs such unprincipled people. I'm considering changing our main bank. Tell that to your president from me.
Please, not that. I can't make such a report.
Tyler was prostrating before James, begging for forgiveness. A pitiful sight for one of the day's main characters. Seeing her partner in such a state, My sister trembled. Not enough. This won't settle it. I didn't let up. Wait, James. In a way, Tyler is also a victim. The real culprit is my sister, right, Tyler? You felt sorry for me and suggested not inviting me to the wedding, but she insisted. Isn't that right?
Yes, exactly. Lisa went ahead with her plans, saying she wanted to harass Emily to the end. I tried to stop her. It was terrible.
Tyler, how can you say that? You're making me out to be the villain.
I'm just stating the facts. You had such a malicious look on your face back then.
Just as I intended, the newly vowed couple started to bicker in the chapel. I raised my voice so the surrounding relatives could hear. That's her true nature. Since we were kids, she's been mean to me, spouting abusive words and stealing my boyfriends. Yet, she was adored by everyone around her. I continued exposing the harsh truth about my sister, her two-faced nature. How she commanded me not to speak to her in public, her overt disdain, her theft and misuse of my belongings, and how she even sold some of them. I didn't want to recall it, but I recounted how she stole my first boyfriend in high school. The day after flaunting a relationship with that boyfriend, she dumped him. She was done harassing me, so he was no longer of use to her. Be careful, Tyler, not to meet the same fate.
It's not like that. There was another reason we broke up. I can't remember right now, but it wasn't because the harassment was over.
My sister frantically tried to defend herself, but no one believed her. The atmosphere was telling. I could also tell from everyone's expressions. They were appalled. The garden wedding had turned into an away game for the bride. Right? You can't just dump Tyler. Marrying an elite banker isn't something anyone can easily do. I was devastated 3 years ago. Do you understand how it feels to have your fiancé stolen, sister? Probably not.
It's your fault for being slow-witted.
Really? I don't think so. It's much worse to secretly approach and steal your sister's fiancé. Oh, I get it. You don't realize you're doing something wrong. That's why you can do such things so easily.
Emily, enough already.
Who should be saying enough? Stop messing up people's lives. I've done my research, you know. Sister, you were always chasing after other people's men in college, garnering plenty of resentment, right? My sister stepped back, unnerved. She was scared, not knowing how much I knew. I was aware of almost everything about her college life, which is just as I touched upon a moment ago. How she repeatedly seduced and stole other women's boyfriends, earning nicknames like Crusher or Man-Eater. The dark side of a beautiful, academically successful college student. It reveals her hidden nature. Such a dishonorable reputation. You stole people's boyfriends to affirm your own attractiveness, right? You wanted to bask in a sense of superiority and then discarded them quickly. What you did was despicable, wrong, and shameful. As your sister, I'm embarrassed.
Stop. Don't make things up.
Making things up. You're the one lying. I told you, I've done thorough research. I met with each victim personally and heard their stories. Remember Ashley, Monica, Yolanda, Heather, Rachel, and Rose? They all had their boyfriends stolen by you, and they still resent you to this day. When I named these specific individuals, my sister's complexion changed. She realized her excuses were futile, having been relentlessly counted by the sister she always looked down upon. Now she was utterly deflated. Neither our parents, relatives, nor the wedding staff could stop me. Even if they tried, James intervened. Feeling it was time, I decided to deliver the final blow to my devastated sister. By the way, how did you find out about my engagement with Tyler 3 years ago? I didn't tell anyone. As James mentioned earlier, I despised everyone, so I had no intention of sharing even after getting married. Tyler and his parents understood that.
Well, someone told me.
Who was it? When I was in high school, it was our parents who informed you about my boyfriend, right? You interfered, saying I was too presumptuous. But it's different now. I haven't told anyone in our family. No one I met after starting work had any connection to my sister. Yet, she knew about my engagement with Tyler and meddled. Who told you? Who enabled this? I pressed on.
I don't know. I can remember. Does it matter right now?
It matters a lot. Lisa, lying only makes things worse. Just be honest. No one informed you about me and Tyler, right? So how did you find out?
What? What are you trying to say?
I turned my smartphone screen toward my sister for everyone to see. Displayed was an image of her and a scene of her entering my room without permission. She turned pale and froze in shock. Surprised, I thoroughly investigated how my relationship with Tyler back then came to light. I considered all possibilities and found it. Lisa, you planted a bug in my room. That's why you knew everything.
Bugging? No way. Lisa, did you bug your own sister?
Her breathing became erratic, and she began shaking her head in denial. She seemed to have an expression that didn't want to admit anything. It's no lie. You would do anything to outdo me and make me miserable. You probably took the key to my room without permission when I visited home once for a gathering. That's why you could come and go as you pleased. I suspect she also found my current address from items I had during that visit. She must have acted while I was in the bathroom or away. Using the information and duplicate key, she later installed the bug in my residence. The bug is still there with your fingerprints, I bet.
That's a lie. All a fabrication.
But how else can you explain having a key to my room? You've been entering my house, right? Were you there to replace the bug? Didn't you notice the camera?
Under current law, bugging itself may not be criminal, but illegal entry is. Are you prepared for the consequences, Lisa?
But I'm the older sister. What's wrong with entering my sister's room?
Who had said she couldn't accept such an imperfect sister? Whether you're siblings or not, entering someone's room with a stolen key is a crime. I'll have James's lawyer friend help, and we'll formally charge you. I will make her admit her guilt through a trial or whatever it takes. Then I will make her apologize until she's thoroughly remorseful. That's the extent of my revenge. For now, it's still ongoing. The venue fell silent. The sky seemed empty. My sister sat down and began to cry. Instead of comforting her, Tyler looked down and said,
Sorry, can we pretend this marriage never happened?
What? What are you talking about? Stop saying weird things.
What's weird about it? It's only natural to want a divorce. I knew you could be scary, but I never imagined you were this despicable. I want a divorce.
No way. I will never agree to a divorce.
James, Emily, I'm truly sorry for all the trouble. I will end my relationship with this woman, so please continue to support our company as before.
No way. Unbelievable. Traitor.
My sister, unable to bear it, began crying and tried to lash out at Tyler, but our parents held her back. There was nothing about my sister to sympathize with. Her faults were clear to anyone listening to our exchange. Her tear-streaked face was grotesquely distorted, almost worth capturing in a photo. Whatever happened to the wedding, I no longer cared. James and I left the scene. Later, James received a call from Tyler, who managed to finalize the divorce for my sister. From Tyler's tone, I could picture my sister's pitiful state.
She begged me not to leave her, saying she'd do anything, crying and pleading. It was quite a scene.
Tyler recounted, trying desperately to regain our favor. He spoke harshly of my sister, forcing her into agreeing to the divorce. She had brought it upon herself. Frankly, afterward, I sued my sister for trespassing and sought damages for emotional distress. She had worked at a trading company, but the bugging and divorce scandal became known at her workplace, making her position untenable. She resigned, citing personal reasons, and returned to live a slovenly life at our parents' home, according to them. Prompted by relatives, my parents apologized for their past behavior, regretting their preferential treatment of my sister and neglect of me. Like Tyler, they mockingly shared details of my sister's current miserable state. She couldn't adjust to a lower standard of living, wasting money despite being jobless, rapidly depleting her savings, and resorting to begging our parents for money. Her appearance also suffered. Stress eating caused her to gain weight rapidly, erasing any traces of her former beauty. Now a neglected woman in her 40s, she does nothing but complain. If she has the energy to complain about others, there's no need to worry about her. I advised my parents over the phone not to pamper her too much. It would be better for her to work and face herself, for her own sake, realizing her foolish actions. My parents suggested I visit with James, but I politely declined. A couple of apologies won't make amends. I won't set foot in my hometown again. Even as my parents age, they will realize the extent of their mistreatment. They can spend their twilight years regretting and reflecting with their unworthy eldest daughter. Then, I ended the call. I now feel content in my life with James, feeling cherished in a happy marriage. 3 years ago, consumed by hatred, I hired a private investigator to monitor my sister's actions. By chance, James, the company's advisor, was there and sympathized greatly with me. As they say, when one god abandons you, another will pick you up. Life is truly unpredictable. Recently, I discovered I'm pregnant with a boy. Much to James's excitement about having an heir. Since standing my ground at the wedding, my life has been on an upswing, with James continually expanding his business. Both of us are on the rise, it seems. After enduring so much unpleasantness, we aim to be happier than anyone else from now on. For that reason, I'm committed to staying as positive as possible.
You still don't have kids? Can't even show off a grandkid? What a failure.
While sitting on a park bench, taking a brief break, a woman approached and started talking to me. That condescending look in her eyes and her tone of voice. No doubt, it was her. Surprised by the sudden reunion, I was at a loss for words. But why would she bring up the topic of kids so suddenly? While hiding my confusion, I told the woman the truth. My kid is right over there. The moment I said that, her eyes widened in shock. My name is Emily, 37 years old. Now I'm married with kids and living a happy life, but I've overcome various difficulties to get here. The story goes back to when I was in high school. I had a boyfriend named Jake. I met Jake during my freshman year of high school. As a child, I wasn't very good at talking to people. Because of this, I couldn't fit in well and had few friends. It was lonely. I often wondered if things would have been different if I were more sociable. Since elementary school, I've been prone to overthinking. When I got to middle school, I resolved to be more outgoing and make lots of friends. I set this goal before graduating from elementary school, but ultimately, I didn't achieve it. I thought if I didn't change in high school, I'd be like this for life. Knowing I'd be separated from my friends in high school, I felt even more pressure to change. However, my personality didn't change in high school. While everyone else was making new friends and having fun, I was alone in a corner of the classroom. I'd either be reading books or pretending to sleep. I just kept to myself all the time. I remember crying at home many times because I felt so miserable. Then one day, something happened that would greatly change my life. It was during one of the few seat changes that occur each year. It seems the method of drawing lots for seat changes is the same in every school. Well, I thought my life wouldn't change much with a seat change, and I was prepared to continue living alone. Without much expectation or anxiety, I moved my desk to the spot indicated by the lottery, and there was Jake sitting next to me.
Hey, Emily. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Nice to meet you too. Jake, who hadn't interacted much with me, kindly spoke to me. Originally, I had the impression that Jake was kind to everyone, so I felt relieved that I wasn't an exception. But I thought this would probably be it. We didn't go to the same middle school or have common hobbies. I figured we'd only talk if there was some business to attend to. However, my expectation was completely wrong. Surprisingly, Jake started actively talking to me. At first, it was just trivial conversations, but as days went by, the topics became more diverse. I, who used to be nervous talking with Jake, could now talk to him as a friend. I never imagined this would happen. I savored the joy of having made a new friend. It might sound exaggerated, but friends were that special to me. Then, a year later, I was in my sophomore year of high school, and thankfully, Jake was in the same class. Then one day, suddenly, Jake confessed his feelings to me. I never dreamed of being confessed to and was bewildered.
I've always liked you. It's no surprise you're shocked, but I've been hoping we could be together.
But I didn't feel any disgust. Rather, I wondered if it was really okay for someone like me to be his girlfriend. Is it really okay for me to be your girlfriend?
Don't say that. I want it to be you, Emily, but I won't force you.
Jake said, looking down, continuing to express his feelings. Receiving his sentiments, I responded, I would be happy to be with you, Jake. Let's do this.
Really, that makes me so happy.
Jake's face brightened with joy. Since starting to date Jake, my life changed significantly. Though I always walked to and from school alone, then I would see Jake by my side. Instead of staying in on weekends, I had more fulfilling times because Jake would take me out. I didn't know if Jake was thinking about our future together, but at least I wanted to walk through life with him. I liked him that much. As time went on, we visited each other's homes more often. So I got to know Jake's family, and he got to know mine. Every time he came over, I saw him getting along well with my family. Jake's parents thought very highly of me. My parents, too, were very positive.
Never thought you'd date such a good kid. I'm surprised.
Can't believe you snagged such a great guy.
My parents knew I was shy. So, when I told them I had a boyfriend, they were quite surprised. Time passed, and Jake and I graduated from high school. I went to a local university's economics department, while Jake, wanting to become a doctor, went to medical school. He had always spoken about wanting to be a doctor, and he was then taking the first step toward his dream. I deeply respected him for that. Even though we went to different universities, we didn't break up. Instead, we made a conscious effort to see each other when we could. Jake, being focused on becoming a doctor, seemed busy with studies and training. Time flew, and I graduated from university. Then, I got a job at a local company. By this time, both Jake and I were living on our own, visiting each other's places when we had time. 2 years later, Jake graduated and finally achieved his dream of becoming a doctor. Another 2 years passed. When both of our careers had stabilized, Jake proposed to me.
I want to be with you forever. Will you marry me?
Of course. I, who had always envisioned a future with Jake, would never refuse his proposal. I happily accepted. The thought of being with Jake forever felt like a dream. While savoring the happiness of being proposed to, I thought about our future life together. Even after we got engaged, our closeness remained the same. Preparing for the marriage registration and wedding was tough, but we managed it by helping each other. I relished the joy of being able to marry Jake. I was so glad to be marrying Jake. But then, unexpectedly, my life took a drastic turn.
Hey, Emily, can we just forget about getting married?
What? I was taken aback by the sudden suggestion. What do you mean?
I mean, let's call off the engagement.
Why? I couldn't understand why Jake wanted to call off the engagement. Whether I had done something wrong or he had grown to dislike me. It's hard to accept this all of a sudden. We've already met each other's families and progressed with the preparations. How can we call off the engagement now? I can't accept this.
I'm really sorry. I'll take responsibility and pay compensation. But I just can't marry you, Emily. I'm truly sorry. I know an apology isn't enough, but sorry.
What's the reason?
I can't tell you.
We had been dating since high school, promising each other a future and thinking of building a happy home together. So why? Why can't you tell me?
It's just not possible.
No matter how much I asked, Jake only apologized. Eventually, I caved, and the engagement was called off. Jake had mentioned paying a settlement, but I never accepted it. I wanted to forget about him as soon as possible. After being informed of the broken engagement, I immediately told my parents. Both were as sad as if it were their own sorrow, only making me feel more apologetic. Why did Jake want to call off the engagement? Did he dislike me, or was there someone else he loved? Had I been the only one who thought we were happy together? No matter how much I pondered, I couldn't find the answer with Jake saying nothing. It was agonizing to speculate alone. For a while, I went through my days without feeling alive, unable to focus on work or anything I liked. However, 6 months later, I unexpectedly learned why Jake had called off the engagement. One day, told by my mom there was something she needed to discuss, I went home and was greeted by my sister, Sarah, smirking maliciously, which was unusual.
Oh, you actually came.
Well, yeah, Mom called me. But why are you here?
Why can't I be? This is also my parents' house, isn't it? I don't need to explain myself to you. Besides, I have something I want to report, so I decided to come.
Something you want to report? What could she possibly want to announce that required calling me here? Noticing my concern, Sarah smirked again and pressed on.
You'll be happy to hear it. Just wait and see.
With that, Sarah went back to the living room. I couldn't trust what Sarah said. She claimed it would be something I'd be happy about, but it was probably a lie. A wave of anxiety overwhelmed me, and I wanted to leave right then and there. It had been a long time since our whole family gathered around the dining table. Usually, it was a joyful atmosphere, but Sarah's presence made the air much heavier. Yet, Sarah seemed unfazed, continuing to talk about whatever she pleased. Despite living together for years, I still couldn't understand what was going through Sarah's mind. It was unsettling.
Right. I'll just say it.
During the meal, Sarah started talking in a cheerful tone. The moment she spoke, I felt suffocated. I tried to calm myself and listen to her.
I'm getting married.
Married?
Yeah, to Jake.
What? I couldn't believe my ears. That couldn't be true. Wait, Jake.
Yeah, Jake.
Did Jake, my ex-fiancé?
Yes, your ex-fiancé, Jake.
Sarah answered without any hint of guilt. Glancing at my parents, I could tell they were speechless. However, Sarah, without changing her expression, cheerfully continued discussing the marriage registration and wedding plans.
I'm seriously so happy marrying Jake. It feels like finally, because of someone, things couldn't move forward.
Someone?
Oh, you're asking, it's you. Convincing Jake was really tough.
You deliberately stole her fiancé.
Stop saying stole. Ultimately, Jake chose me. I didn't do anything wrong, right? If anyone, it's Emily who got dumped by Jake, I think.
Sarah was unapologetic, and our parents were furious. I couldn't grasp the situation and kept repeating the same words.
How could you do this? Marriage is supposed to be joyful, but not in your case. Saying you struggled to persuade him means you had practically forced him, didn't you?
Come on, don't make it sound so bad. Sure, I knew Jake and Emily were going to get married. But like I said, Jake chose me in the end. If you want to point out something bad about me, I can't think of anything.
You're unbelievable.
I couldn't respond. The only thing that echoed in my mind was Sarah's shrill laughter. Sarah had always disliked me from the beginning. Even before I started kindergarten, she clearly told me, "You shouldn't have been born." As I grew up, Sarah never changed her stance.
If you weren't born, I could have everything to myself. All the food, the toys, everything.
But that's not something I can help with.
Shut up.
Sarah seemed to only see me as an outlet for her stress. She would take her anger out on me to feel better. Even if she was in a good mood, seeing me would instantly sour it.
I was feeling good, but seeing your face just ruins it. It's the worst.
I don't know what to say to that.
That's what annoys me about you. Always talking back.
Sarah is the one taking offense on her own. It's not something I can fix. So, could you not snap at me too? It makes me feel bad as well.
That's what I mean. Stop talking back. It's annoying.
But Sarah did more than just hurl hurtful words. She regularly shifted the blame for her misdeeds onto me. She would immediately tattle to our parents, playing the victim. Although they knew I hadn't done anything and scolded Sarah many times, she never stopped making me out to be the villain. There were instances of her hiding my things or ruining my homework and important papers, forcing me to apologize to teachers multiple times. Of course, I hated Sarah. I didn't want to be in the same space as her, but I couldn't always have my way. I lived under her influence until I moved out to live on my own. However, there was a time when Sarah seemed a bit nicer. That was when I started dating Jake. When Jake first visited our home, Sarah's mood noticeably improved.
Well, Emily's boyfriend? He's handsome.
Well, that's
great, Emily. Your first boyfriend, right?
Well, yeah. Sarah's mood didn't change after that. She just kept alternating her attention between me and Jake, bombarding us with questions. On another day, Sarah's mood instantly improved upon seeing Jake, and she loudly welcomed him. I realized Sarah liked Jake, and it made me feel sick.
Hey, your boyfriend is super handsome. Why is he dating you?
I don't know.
By the way, is it true he wants to be a doctor? Is he smart?
He's smart. He even helps me with my studies. He's always said he wanted to be a doctor. Sarah listened to me and smirked suspiciously.
Wow. Which university is he aiming for?
I don't know. Something medical?
As his girlfriend, you don't know which university he's aiming for. Aren't you a failure as a girlfriend?
I knew, but I just didn't want to tell Sarah. She had no way of knowing the truth and kept provoking me. She must have wanted to say she's the right woman for Jake. Yeah. Think whatever you want.
You really annoy me. Don't get cocky.
Sarah, seemingly displeased with my attitude, effortlessly threw hurtful words at me. Her attempts to appeal to Jake knew no bounds. Listening to his private life, touching him, her excessive behavior continued unabated. Jake seemed troubled too, but all I could do was apologize to him for Sarah's actions. Time passed, and Jake stopped visiting our house. Maybe that was where Sarah's involvement should have ended. But who would have thought Jake broke off our engagement to marry Sarah? No matter how much I tried to make sense of it, I couldn't keep up. Seeing me like this, Sarah laughed out loud again.
Man, marrying Jake is the best.
Do you really think this is okay? To take someone's fiancé like that?
Yeah. So what's wrong with that? I don't know how Emily feels, but I'm on top of the world. I get to marry the man I love. Oh, sorry, shouldn't say that in front of someone who got dumped.
Sarah continued to taunt me. While my parents were still angry, I had no energy left to respond. I just felt the tears rolling down my cheeks.
Are you crying? That's not cute, you know. Oh, but you weren't cute to begin with.
Sarah, just get out, now. You're no family of mine.
Don't ever show your face here again.
How mean. I just came to make a happy announcement.
Despite my parents' rage trying to kick her out, Sarah just laughed. I didn't want to see Sarah's face ever again. But there was one last thing I needed to ask. Hey, why did you choose Jake?
You mean, why I chose Jake?
Yeah, why go out of your way to choose someone else's fiancé? That was the last thing I wanted to know. The reason she chose Jake. I knew it would be messy, but I was genuinely curious about her reasoning. To my question, Sarah answered with glee.
Because he's a doctor.
What?
Yay, because Jake became a doctor. I had my eye on him since I heard he wanted to be one. I got his social media info from him a while back, so he wrote something about becoming a doctor. So I thought I'd reach out, just on a whim, and he replied just like that. The rest is history.
Maybe at first, Jake responded because Sarah was my sister, but to go from there to marriage, what was he thinking? Perhaps he just got overwhelmed by Sarah's advances, but doing that at the expense of me, his fiancée at that time, also seems questionable.
When I showed a bit of interest, he just fell for it. And to think, he always acts so composed. He's actually quite reserved, huh?
That's terrible.
You asked why Jake chose me, so I told you.
Sarah laughed without remorse. Seeing this, our parents became even angrier.
Do you even have a heart?
What's that? You're so harsh.
Harsh or not, you're a disgrace to be a daughter. I won't be attending your wedding. Don't you ever set foot in this house again.
Dad then grabbed Sarah by the arm and forcibly dragged her outside.
Hey, what are you doing?
Even Sarah was taken aback by Dad's actions. Though Mom and I were shocked, Sarah had taken things too far. I wished she would never appear before me again. Mom probably felt the same. That's why nobody stopped Dad.
I'll be happy, just you wait. I'll have lots of kids, live in a nice house, and show you, Emily, just you watch, all alone.
With those words, Sarah was thrown out of the house. Remembering her triumphant look towards me, my head ached. But this might finally sever ties with her. I felt somewhat relieved thinking that way. I realized it had been 10 years since that turmoil. My interaction with Sarah had ceased, and I was living a peaceful life, which made me happy. One day, I was sitting alone on a park bench, drinking coffee. In the cold season, the warm coffee was comforting. As I relaxed and let my mind wander, a woman approached me.
Do you still have no kids? Can't even show off a grandkid? What a failure.
I looked towards where the voice came from. A flood of unpleasant memories rushed back. The condescending look and tone of voice. She seemed much thinner than before, but it was undoubtedly Sarah. Shocked by the sudden reunion, I was speechless. Why would she suddenly bring up children? While hiding my confusion, I pointed to a child nearby and revealed the truth. My kid is right there. At that moment, I could see Sarah's eyes widen in shock.
What? That can't be true. Aren't you single? A single person with a child?
Well, I'm married.
What? You're married?
In fact, after Jake broke off our engagement, I married a colleague from my company. His name is Bob. Originally, Bob and I worked in different departments and knew each other to some extent. However, we got closer after his transfer, and it led to marriage. Shocked that I was married, Sarah stared at me in disbelief.
But you had your fiancé stolen by me.
That's true, but there's no rule saying I couldn't marry someone else if it didn't work out with Jake, right? I married a colleague from work.
I can't believe you caught a new man. You're shy, introverted, gloomy, and creepy. How come?
Sarah couldn't believe I was married. She opened and closed her mouth, struggling to find words. Just so you know, I've shown our kids to Dad and everyone. What about you? Weren't you going to have lots of kids with Jake and live in a nice house?
Stop. My life is none of your business.
It is related. You assumed I had no kids and started this. Why are you even here? Sarah didn't answer my question. Looking away, she seemed desperate to think of a response. But I didn't wait for her to reply, continuing to bombard her with questions. So, how are things going with Jake? Are you in touch with our parents? What are you doing now?
Shut up. Just shut up.
Can't answer. Maybe nothing is going well for you? Not getting along with Jake and no kids. No contact with our parents.
I said, shut up.
Sarah just kept repeating the same thing. Seeing her refuse to answer, I lost my patience. Well, if things were going well, you wouldn't react like this. You approached me to boast, right? Or maybe you and Jake couldn't have kids.
Why would you say that?
Sarah looked at me with disbelief. She probably wondered how I knew that she and Jake couldn't have children. Why? Because after the engagement, I did a bridal check with Jake. That's when we found out he couldn't have kids. I still loved him and was willing to marry him. I thought Jake would tell you before getting married. Didn't he? Or didn't you want to ask?
I didn't know. I wasn't told.
Always the same with you, never at fault. It's always been that way, pushing responsibility onto others, claiming you're not to blame. I don't know what you're thinking, but shouldn't a couple discuss having kids if they really want them? Did you even try anything? You had the energy to steal someone's fiancé.
Quiet, quiet. What do you know about my feelings? You had Jake stolen from you. You shouldn't be happier than me.
Sarah ranted at me, trying to close the distance, but her gaunt appearance took away any sense of threat. It seemed she just couldn't stand seeing me happier than her. She continued with, even though you had your fiancé stolen, and you can't possibly have kids. It's all in your head. She kept repeating the same statements, desperately refusing to accept reality. At that moment, I saw a small child running towards us from the corner of my eye. It was my daughter, Abby.
Mom? Who is this person?
Abby asked apprehensively about Sarah's identity. This person is my older sister.
Wow, Mom has a sister.
Yes, but we had a fight and haven't spoken for years.
Oh, I see.
Abby then looked closely at Sarah. She then spoke again.
Why didn't you tell me about her before?
With a self-satisfied smile, I answered, not minding my pettiness. Because she used to make me out to be the bad guy.
What? That's awful.
At that, Sarah, who had been eyeing Abby enviously, suddenly spoke up.
Hey, there's no need to say that in front of a child.
I'm just stating the facts. I don't want her to think you're a good person. It's important to make it clear you're not.
You know, stop making up weird things. Look, Abby, it's just your mom's sister. Nothing scary, right?
Sarah tried to sound gentle as she approached Abby, but Abby, feeling wary, hid behind me.
Hey, you!
Are you getting mad at a child now? I mean, it's rich coming from me, but you're really immature, you know?
Shut up. You have no room to.
What's going on?
Just as our argument seemed to escalate again, a man's voice came from behind. Turning around, I saw Bob, my husband. That day, we had come to the park as a family of 3, and Sarah had approached me while Bob was momentarily away.
Who is this?
It's Sarah.
Oh.
As soon as he heard Sarah's name, Bob's face visibly soured. Unaware, Sarah approached Bob with a plastered smile.
Oh, you're Emily's husband. Well, you're pretty handsome. Why didn't you introduce me before?
I didn't see the need to do so. Plus, I didn't want you bothering him. No one knows what you might do.
Oh, come on. I'm Sarah, Emily's sister. Nice to meet you.
Sarah continued with the same clawing tone she had used when she introduced herself to Jake. Bob, however, kept frowning and listened to her without changing his expression. I had told Bob about Sarah, how she stole my fiancé, and all the trouble she caused me since we were kids.
Oh, how about we get together for a meal sometime? It's been a while since we met, Emily. We should cherish this connection.
I'll pass.
Contrary to Sarah's tone, Bob firmly declined the invitation.
That's cold. Don't you think so, Emily?
What? After all this time? Not at all. Again, I sensed that Sarah was targeting Bob, just like she did with Jake, my intuition screaming at me. At that moment, Bob stood protectively in front of Abby and me.
I've heard everything about you from Emily. I don't know why you're here today, but please don't involve yourself with us anymore.
Everything.
Yes, exactly. How you stole her fiancé, how you've been harassing her since you were kids, how you lash out at Emily when you're in a bad mood, and belittle her at every chance. Listening to all you've done brought me to tears.
That's an exaggeration. But I haven't done anything wrong, have I? Jake chose me in the end, so we got married. That's all there is to it.
You created the opportunity, didn't you?
Dropping her facade, Sarah began to show her true colors.
Opportunity? What do you mean? Can you explain? It's possible that everything Emily said was a lie, right? Trusting such a woman. You must be foolish.
Sure, keep talking. So you did create the opportunity, right?
Enough. It's all in the past. So why does it matter now?
Oh, right. Should I call our parents and ask? When you came to announce your marriage, you talked about why you were getting married, right? They might remember. Maybe I can find Jake's contact in the old address book. Or should I ask on social media? I wasn't going to let her evade the conversation. I kept pressing Sarah desperately. But it wasn't just empty talk. I could ask our parents if needed, and Jake's contact information is in the address book.
There's no need to go that far.
There it is again. I'm tired of you spouting nonsense. You're embarrassing, you know? From the looks of it, you and Jake are fighting or divorced, right? You don't seem happy at all.
How do you know that?
It's obvious. Things aren't going well with Jake, are they? Resigned to my words. Sarah started to speak quietly about what had happened. Apparently, Jake had divorced her a long time ago. The reason was a mismatch in personalities. Despite getting married, she was told that he grew tired of her constant selfishness. She hadn't even told our parents.
I saw you while I was just walking around here. Thought I'd annoy you a bit to vent my frustration.
Our meeting in the park was truly coincidental. Given her unpredictability, I thought it might be wise to avoid letting Abby play here from now on.
I married him because he was a doctor, but he earns less than I expected. And he's not good looking, quiet. I thought about returning him to you, but your contact had changed and I couldn't reach you. Luckily, he asked for the divorce first.
That's terrible. You divorced for such reasons. You ended up being dumped. How sad for you? Glancing at Bob beside me, it was clear he was put off by Sarah's behavior. A natural reaction, really. But Sarah didn't seem to care about us at all. Seemingly content after sharing her current situation, she made an offer that was hard to believe.
But it's perfect timing. Hey, why don't you live with me? I'm lonely being alone.
What? I couldn't believe she was still saying things like that. Her self-centered behavior made me raise my voice in disbelief. There's no way I would live with you. Besides,
don't say that. Come on, I'll behave from now on, so please.
How can I believe that? Just disappear from our lives already.
What? Can't you listen to your older sister?
Sarah seemed to think that persisting would make her get her way. Her terrible manner of speaking made me hold my head in frustration. But then, Bob spoke up.
There's no way I can live with someone like you. Just disappear from our sight. Even our daughter is scared.
That's harsh.
What's harsh? You're the terrible one here. Please, just disappear from our lives.
The usually gentle Bob wasn't there. He, visibly furious, raised his voice in anger at Sarah.
Playing the victim all this time, saying whatever you want. Enough already, say something, Emily.
What are you talking about? Why don't you just stop being so stubborn? If you're lonely, why don't you go back to our parents' house?
I absolutely hate that. If they found out how miserable my life is. Plus, it feels like losing to you.
Isn't it too late for such talk? As far as I'm concerned, whatever happens to you is none of my business. Don't you see all this is your own doing? If you've realized that, then disappear quickly. Before I knew it, several people were watching our argument.
Remember this. I'll make you regret this.
She apparently disliked the attention. Sarah spat out her last words and awkwardly left the scene. A few days later, I was watching TV alone at home when my phone rang. The call was from a payphone. Initially, I ignored it, but the persistence made me answer with trepidation. Then, from the other end of the phone, I heard a voice I recognized. It was Sarah.
Emily, help me.
What? All of a sudden?
I have no money, can't pay rent, and have to leave my place. I tried contacting Dad, friends, even Jake, but no one will help me. You're my last hope. Can we start over? Please, I won't be selfish anymore. Just let me stay at your place.
Why would I help you? Sarah, in a completely different, frail voice, pleaded with me, but I had no obligation to heed her request.
We met again in the park by fate, right? I thought you would help me.
Cut it out. You assuming there's some connection to me is really bothersome. Anyway, I absolutely won't help you. I don't care about your lack of money, and no one helping you is the result of your actions. Reflect on your past deeds.
But
if you contact me again, I'll consider talking to the police or a lawyer. Got it? Honestly, I doubted the police or a lawyer would act on this matter. It was all bluster. However, Sarah seemed frightened by these words. She then hastily hung up. After that, there was no further action from Sarah. I still have no idea what she's up to now. Perhaps she finally realized that no one would help her. Whatever the reason, it's no longer our concern. After all her selfish actions and the trouble she caused, I do hope she faces the consequences. My husband and I continue to live a happy life, unchanged by the past. Initially devastated by the broken engagement, I worried about what my future would hold. Now, I'm grateful to be married to a wonderful man like Bob, building a happy family together. I hope we can continue to walk towards a bright future as a family. These thoughts cross my mind as I look at our family photo.
Went on a trip with the family. Gave reward to Ernest and kind John for being so good. A drinking trip, the best.
When I called Mike, he was having a great time drinking at his destination. His cheerful attitude made my blood boil. Despite the fact that Sarah was crying at home in the dark, holding a baby, because of Mike and John. Sarah's hair was mercilessly chopped short, and the left side of her head was shaved so much it could be considered bald. She didn't even have eyebrows, let alone hair. It seems that the two men punished her because Sarah cheated. Chill your head, Mike snapped. I could believe it from Mike, but I never thought that John, who seemed like such a good young man, could do such a terrible thing. Who needs all this? This family, these memories, everything, useless. I've decided to ditch Mike and John too. I have no regrets or affection left. I am Linda Johnson. I'm a housewife in my late 50s for whom work is a passion. Right now, I am extremely excited because my only daughter, Sarah, is getting married. Today, her fiancé, John, is visiting our house to greet us. My husband and I, along with Sarah and John, sat facing each other. John sat straight like a student who came for a job interview, blinking a lot, clearly nervous.
I fell for Sarah, who was a reliable colleague at work, and I hit on her several times. I was almost discouraged by being turned down for movies and theme parks, but hanging out for a late dinner after overtime led to getting close with her.
Stop it, it's embarrassing. You don't need to tell them everything.
John scratched his head shyly.
Oh, really? Sorry. I thought I should tell your parents how we met.
The two were colleagues at work. Sarah is 4 years older than John and will turn 30 this year. A case of the wife being older, it seems. He seems like a tender guy, so maybe Sarah will be the more dominant one. John must be really nervous. His hand trembled slightly as he lifted his coffee cup. After drinking his coffee, John declared,
I will definitely make Sarah happy.
John, take good care of Sarah, okay?
Yes.
I was relieved that my daughter's fiancé seemed like a sincere guy. We said goodbye to Sarah and John at the front door and returned to the room. My husband, Mike, was lying on the couch, fiddling with his smartphone, where John had been sitting nervously earlier. During the meeting, Mike didn't speak a word. He's usually not very talkative, but he could at least say good morning. This time he didn't even mutter or aha. He just looked away with a grim face. It's no exaggeration to say that John's nervousness was because of Mike's attitude. During the meeting, I apologized to John, saying, Mike is just nervous, he's not angry, so don't worry. I've heard that fathers often take their daughters' marriages harder than mothers. Imagining him sulking inside, thinking I don't want to lose Sarah, made it somewhat endearing. John seems like a good guy, ha. When I spoke up, Mike distorted his face and said, what? He often stays quiet when in a bad mood, but seldom snaps. His suddenly sullen voice made me tense up.
That's a good guy. You've got no judgment. He's just sucking up. Look, the booze he brought. My favorite kind. But it's expensive, so I don't buy it often. How annoying. He thinks giving me expensive booze will make me happy.
He probably got some inside info from Sarah about Mike's favorite things and picked out a gift in advance. After receiving his favorite treats, I can't understand why Mike still complains.
Working at the same company as Sarah means it's that place, right? Some unnecessarily huge, famous corporation. So what if it's a big business? They act all high and mighty just because they pay well. Showing off that he can afford expensive booze, so annoying.
Is it the complex feelings about his daughter's marriage that caused this outburst? No, as much as he might feel lonely about losing his daughter, this is crossing the line. Just stop it. We don't know John well enough yet to talk badly about him. He's the one Sarah chose. Let's trust her. When I made it clear, Mike slumped as if deflated. With no confidence, he hunched his back and mumbled, struggling to articulate his farts. This is typical of Mike. Unable to find the right words, he chose silence, but would slam doors or click his tongue in displeasure. It's rare for him to snap like he did just now, but the moment I interjected calmly, Mike would suddenly come to his senses and fall silent. It's sad that I can't share the joy of our daughter's marriage with Mike. I remembered a similar incident when Sarah decided to go to college.
What? She's going to college?
It was only in her senior year of high school that he first brought this up. Despite her always studying at home and attending tutoring classes, it seemed he hadn't noticed.
Why? There's no need for college, right? It's going to cost money, isn't it?
Sarah carefully expressed her desire to pursue further education. But Mike, whether listening or not, dug his little finger into his ear, looking in a completely different direction. As if to blow away Sarah's passionate argument, he blew on his dirty fingertip after pulling it out of his ear.
Well, study, huh? Instead of that, you should get out there, learn some work. There are college grads at my company, but I don't get why they get promoted over me. All that study talk is just lip service, considering college is just a place to play around. What's so great about a college degree anyway?
His prejudice was astounding. Yet, if I put my foot down, Mike would fall silent. Sarah was able to get into her top choice university without bending to his clearly bad mood. Not even a word of congratulations from Mike. His grumpy behavior became so routine that it hardly bothered me anymore. And now, with this marriage, whatever is bothering him has escalated beyond his usual grumpiness into outright yelling. John seemed to be bothered by Mike's attitude indeed. Despite understandably disliking dealing with such a rude Mike, he kept inviting him for drinks. Initially resistant, Mike gradually opened up as he shared drinks with John. This was probably because John made a point of being a good listener.
That's why, John, I don't like people with fancy degrees. Despite my longer experience in life, I can understand why someone with just a degree can climb the ladder so easily. Isn't this world messed up?
Indeed, Mike.
Mike was in a good mood at our dining table. When bringing over snacks, I said sorry to John, but he just smiled and gave a slight shake of his head.
I have high hopes for you, John. Despite being a college grad, you're humble. Yet, that's good. You're a grad and yet not in a high position. You must really be incompetent at your job.
When Mike started belittling him, I quickly intervened. John just smiled and said, "It's okay."
See, look, in our house, the wife is the boss, calling the shots. I failed in educating my wife. But there's still hope with you, John. Think of your wife as your servant. Don't worry if you can't make it big at work. People don't judge us fairly anyway. Make your home your kingdom. Got it?
Yes, I understand, Mike.
This was the first time I saw Mike so drunk. Usually, he might be pleased because a college-educated person was showing him respect. But that doesn't excuse his offensive words. Yet John continued to boost Mike's ego without losing his smile. What an incredible person he is. He was making efforts to get along with his fiancée's father. Surely Sarah's future is bright. I felt completely assured they would have a wonderful married life. Recognized by Mike, Sarah and John got married smoothly, and now live in an apartment about a 20-minute ride from our house. Soon after, Sarah became pregnant.
Going back to your parents for the birth? No way, kids are too noisy.
Sarah had asked to come home for her delivery, but Mike flat out refused. It's your first childbirth, so it must be nerve-wracking. Sarah, I'll cut back on work and support you properly. And Mike, it won't bother you. So please let's allow them to come in. We're family, after all. With just that, Mike pouted and fell silent. It's like I have to do whatever you say. I could almost hear his inner voice. It's not that I want to ignore Mike's feelings. So I explained how crucial postpartum support is, but Mike wouldn't say a word anymore, leaving me at a loss. She'll be coming the day after tomorrow. She'll be coming tomorrow. I kept counting down to inform Mike, and somehow managed to let Sarah come home for the birth. And Sarah safely delivered, now resting peacefully at our home. The newborn granddaughter was named Emily. Holding a baby for the first time in a long while, she felt soft and smelled sweet. Even Mike couldn't help but smile at her cuteness. He wouldn't bother with the baby, pretending to pass by, but then sneaking glances at Emily. After about a month of rest, the day came for Sarah to return to her own home. John came to pick them up, and I felt a bit sad that this happy time was ending.
John, must have been tough alone, huh? Sorry for spoiling her by letting her go back to her parents' home. She's been lazing around here as if making up for a lifetime. When you get home, make sure she makes up for the slack.
Mike probably said this, trying to sound important, treating John like a subordinate. As I was about to scold him, John spoke up first.
All right, got it, Mike.
John seemed to have gotten used to handling Mike. He agreed to avoid conflict, just going along with the conversation.
I don't want to leave,
Sarah muttered anxiously. It was unusual for her, normally so reliable. What's wrong? Before Sarah could say anything, John put his arm around her shoulder.
You can't keep relying on your mom forever.
Sarah nodded, her face strained as if holding back tears. Maybe she found it hard to leave the comfort of her childhood home. It'll be difficult for me to help out as much from now on, but with John by her side, there shouldn't be anything to worry about. This past month, I've significantly cut back on work. I've been coming home early to avoid overtime and even took a few days off. Far from being tired from caring for Emily, I felt energized and motivated for work. At the office, they were just waiting to send me on a business trip. I'm fired up to buy toys for my adorable granddaughter. And a few days later, I returned from the business trip. It's late tonight, so I'll drop off the gifts at Sarah's tomorrow and get to hold Emily. Excited about this plan, I was about to open my front door when I faintly heard a baby crying. It was a frail, weak cry. I was happy to think Sarah was at our house, but suddenly, a sense of unease washed over me. Something was wrong. That's right, my house was completely dark. As I opened the door, the crying grew louder. No doubt about it. Emily was inside the house, but why was there no light on anywhere? Sarah, are you there? No response. Only Emily's crying echoed through. Kicking off my shoes, I hurried through the house. When I opened the door to the living room, I could vaguely make out a figure in the dark. Tentatively, I turned on the light. Yikes! I involuntarily screamed and stepped back. There was Sarah, holding Emily and shedding tears, but I couldn't recognize her at first, because her hair was chopped up unevenly, and the left side of her head was almost completely shaved. Sarah, are you okay? What happened? Rushing to Sarah, I realized she didn't even have eyebrows, let alone hair. I almost screamed again, but instead, I hugged her tightly. Her hoarse crying was directly in my ears, making my chest unbearably tight. I held her for a long time. She finally whispered the reason for this mess.
Dad did this.
What? Why? No matter how irritable or angry he got, he had never resorted to violence. Could this be a mistake? But Sarah's next words only confused me more.
And, John.
What? That was unthinkable. Not the John I knew, the picture of a good young man. Reeling from the shock, I caught Sarah's vacant eyes looking at me. In that moment, I was certain of the truth. Sarah would never lie. But why? With difficulty, Sarah revealed a shocking reason.
Because I cheated.
That can't be.
I mean, really.
Despite my complete trust in Sarah, the story seemed unbelievable. Holding back my urge to scream, I called Mike to verify the facts.
Hey, hello.
Mike answered the phone cheerfully. The background noise indicated he was out somewhere. It seemed like he was drinking. Where are you? I tried to ask gently after taking a deep breath, but my tone unintentionally became harsh. Yet, Mike seemed too absorbed in his enjoyment to care about that.
On a trip with the family.
Family? Who?
John, rewarding good. Kind John with a drinking trip. The best. You're on a business trip, trying to look good, but you're just eating local food, right? The booze and food are always better on trips.
Sarah was trembling right beside me, yet Mike responded cheerily. He apparently didn't remember that my business trip was ending today. A drinking trip, just the two of you guys. What about Sarah and Emily?
Oh, they're at home. Had some issues, needed to cool off. So we decided to take a trip.
It hurt to respond with a fake "I see," and I pulled the phone away from my ear. Anger overflowed, but venting it to this cheerful man seemed pointless.
Men need a break too, you know. It's unfair women always use kids as an excuse to rest. That's why I took a week off. Let the office folks learn they can't function without me. You'll find the house a mess when you get back. Thought I would clean. No way, I'm not a cleaning robot.
Behind Mike's assertions, I heard a voice chiming in. Exactly, exactly. Unfortunately, it was John's voice. Any faint hope that John had just been swept along by Mike was dashed. As I stood there stunned after ending the call, Sarah told me,
He wasn't a good person. Rather, John was.
Tears flowed from Sarah's eyes again. Even Emily, whom I was holding, started to fuss, sensing the sadness. I didn't want to see their tears anymore. Hurting Sarah, and then what? A trip, a family. What were those 30 years we spent with Mike supposed to mean? A father who would push away his own daughter after 30 years of care is no longer needed. I asked Sarah in a calm voice, her body trembling. Do you need such a family, Sarah? Shall we let them go? As I spoke, 30 years of memories flashed before me. The day Sarah was born. The first time Sarah called him Daddy. Mike was overjoyed, crying and jumping around. It seemed he genuinely loved her when she was little. I almost thought he wasn't all bad, but then I remembered how he would become grumpy over trivial things. He once got sulky because Sarah called me Mommy more often than Daddy and left us in a distant park. The bad memories outnumber the good by about 100-fold, not to mention what he did to Sarah. As a member of the family, Mike was utterly unnecessary. Sarah, still trembling, looked me straight in the eye as if understanding my resolve.
We don't need them.
Hearing her response, I nodded deeply. Who needs all this? This family, these memories, everything, useless. I resolved to abandon Mike and John. There was not a trace of regret or sentiment left. A week later, Mike bombarded me with calls nonstop. Because he was so persistent, I answered. Bracing myself for a scolding, I partially covered my ear, but Mike's voice was unusually feeble, almost probing.
The house is gone.
When I didn't respond immediately, Mike continued nervously.
I'm pretty sure I'm at the right place, but the house, it's just gone, right, John? This is where the house was, right?
Yeah, it's gone.
He must have felt like he was dreaming. Anyone would be confused if something as permanent as their home simply vanished. Returning to their familiar home after a week, they found nothing there. No gate, no flower bed, not even the large house. Everything was gone, leaving just a bare plot of land. Oh, that property. I sold it.
You sold it? What do you mean, sold it?
Mike's voice rose in pitch. He was too bewildered to even be angry. I sold it to a real estate agent. The house was pretty run down, being a used property, and more than that, I didn't want to live in a house steeped in memories with you. I thought it'd be better to tear it all down. It was my house, in my name. So I did what I wanted with it.
What? No way, right?
Mike's deflated lament was irritating. Ignoring him or being yelled at was unpleasant. But his weak and whiny behavior was especially grating. Mike, always feeling inferior, harbored resentment towards me. Because I earned more. I never blamed or looked down on him for it, but he was always concerned about it.
No. But how can you just do this?
Why, I wondered, did he think this? There must be a reason he resorted to such drastic measures. It's about Sarah.
Oh,
Surely he hadn't forgotten about Sarah while indulging in a week-long escapade.
no, it's different. It's Sarah's fault. Sarah, she cheated, believe it.
Cheated?
Yes. That's why I cut her hair, to make her reflect. Maybe if I shave her head, she'll really think about what she's done. With that look, no man would approach her, preventing any cheating.
As if she had time to cheat while caring for a newborn. But apparently, John suspected her of cheating. John abruptly cut into the call.
Listen, Linda. There are days when Sarah doesn't do any housework. What was she doing all day?
That's a man's doing.
Right, Mike?
So, the shallow conclusion drawn by these two men was just cheating. Why didn't they consider childcare as the reason for not being able to do housework? Leaving all the childcare to the wife, showing no interest, is evidence enough.
There is evidence. I saw messages on Sarah's phone with a man from her work. Thanks for the baby gift. Sarah, when confronted, had received a designer bib from the man. Exchanging gifts, they must be close.
I already heard the situation from Sarah. A close female colleague at work, along with a few others, had given her a baby shower gift. Normal people wouldn't think of infidelity over small gifts like baby bibs or socks.
So I thought of getting Mike to scold her. Then he started cutting her hair to make her reflect. Typical of Mike, teaching the husband-wife hierarchy.
John sounded furious. Sarah didn't cheat.
Oh yes, if a woman isn't attending to the house, it means there's another man.
Was John always like this? I despised myself for once believing he was a reliable, good young man. If that's the case, let me say this. Do you suspect cheating because you're the one doing it?
What? No, that's not.
He was visibly flustered. I heard from Sarah earlier. You used her absence during her maternity at her parents' to bring women to your house, didn't you?
How did you?
Just as I thought. You seem to underestimate Sarah a lot, but your actions have been transparent all along. I could hear him gasping for air. Bringing different women to your house nearly every day, letting them take care of household chores and even your personal needs. I know you've been paying them. Did you use some popular dating app? Must have enjoyed feeling like a king. In fact, Sarah was aware of all John's betrayals. When she tried to confront John about his cheating, he turned aggressive and attacked her.
John cheated.
Despite Sarah's complaints, the foolish Mike wholeheartedly believed John. He probably preferred his flattering son-in-law over his own daughter.
It can't be. So, John cheated as revenge for Sarah's supposed affair.
John fell silent. Even if Mike's influence changed him, it didn't excuse his grievous mistake.
And who destroys a home over infidelity?
Mike still didn't grasp the gravity of his actions. It's not just the cheating. I'm angry because Sarah was hurt. Even after saying this, Mike and John remained nonchalant.
She got hurt. I don't recall cutting her ear with scissors.
I used a clipper for the first time. It was easy. Maybe I could become a barber.
The conversation was going nowhere. Sarah had faced them alone and been harmed. She must have been terrified. She must have been anxious about Emily possibly being attacked too. Anyway, I've had it with Mike. As you can see, there's no home for you to return to. Since you seem to prefer John, let him take care of you. your belongings are all at John's place. Of course, neither Sarah nor Emily is there. After declaring this, I heard two voices of dismay, saying, "Oh no." I braced for a more furious reaction, but perhaps the shock of coming back to find their home gone was too overwhelming to grasp fully. After ending the call, the two showed up at John's apartment. Sarah and I could monitor their actions through a certain method.
Wow, a mountain of cardboard boxes. These are Mike's, right?
She really did it. The house really is gone. See, my wife looks down on me. Even with an education and good income, she's failed as a wife.
To still speak ill of me at this point was astounding.
But is it true, John, that you were the one cheating, not Sarah?
I did give money to women for fun.
Mike groaned in dismay.
Why did it get out? If you play around, you've got to be smart about it. Apologizing to Sarah now would be galling. Just have to stick with "I didn't cheat. I don't know anything."
Understood.
Mike then slumped onto the couch, fidgeting restlessly.
Since Sarah also received gifts from a man, and most importantly, my wife who destroyed the house is overwhelmingly to blame. Yet, we're not the bad ones.
He might be panicking inside, pretending to be confident. Knowing it was futile to talk, I couldn't help but speak up. Who's not to blame?
Yikes.
Startled by my sudden voice in the room, Mike jumped like a frog. I thought you might reflect a bit, but you're just trying to save your skin.
What? Where are you?
Mike and John rushed together, looking around, hands clasped. They kicked around the cardboard boxes as if they thought I was hiding in them. As I said before, I see everything you do. I've been watching through this camera.
What? Camera?
They searched the room and finally noticed the camera on the shelf. Sarah and I had been watching them through a baby monitor camera set up inside. We could also communicate through it.
A hidden camera. You were spying. That's outrageous.
John's face twisted unrecognizably on the camera close up. Sarah, clinging to me, inhaled sharply, then stated with resolve.
Spying? That's an awful way to put it. It's just a camera to watch over the child.
Spying is spying. Daring to do this, woman. Next time, shaving your head won't be enough. How about I make sure you can use those eyes?
Faced with John's rage, I was at a loss for words. The facade of the good young man was shattered. On the last day of her visit our home, Sarah's profile whispering "I don't want to go back" came to mind. Apparently, John changed after marriage. Even though both Sarah and John worked, he gradually showed a domineering attitude that housework is a woman's job and a wife should serve her husband.
Surprisingly, the camera caught all of John's abuse and cheating. Oh, what a shock.
Sarah, safe elsewhere, kept her composure, aggravating John further. With his face red with fury, John lunged at the camera and smashed it to the floor. The camera on the floor captured John's tantrum.
Damn it. Just because you're a woman, you think you can trap me. Don't underestimate men.
John, who graduated from a good university and works at a respectable corporation, is acting like a child. I thought he was just going along with Mike, but maybe he deeply agreed with him. John, are you putting yourself down? Is it because Sarah earns more than you? If that's the case, you should improve your skills instead of dragging others down.
It's because you don't have those abilities that you act tough.
While stomping his feet in a quick pace, John hurled vile words, attacking Sarah's character.
Presumptuous for a woman.
His unbearable insults continued. After a few minutes of listening, Sarah said softly,
"This camera has a recording feature, you know."
The verbal abuse stopped instantly, shifting from insults to pained cries. "I didn't mean it like that. I love Sarah. I was just being spoiled." He began to make excuses. There's nothing more revolting than the tears of someone who was just boastful. Disgusted, Sarah and I ended the call. John dragged Mike along, and they both expressed apology, peering into the camera. Seeing the tear-streaked faces of the two just made us feel uncomfortable. An apologetic performance like this was too late. What follows is what I heard from Sarah. The next day, John went to work with a haggard face. Perhaps because it was his first day back at work after a week's leave, his colleagues' stares pierced through John.
What's wrong? Oh, are you worried about my swollen eyes? Kind of looks like pink eye, huh?
John's eyes were bloodshot from crying during yesterday's apologies. Despite his attempt to laugh it off, the coldness in his colleague's eyes remained. He felt as if openly hostile, overwhelmed by the atmosphere. Then Sarah appeared, though it was not strange for her to be there as they worked at the same company. John was as shocked as if seeing a ghost.
Why are you here?
John screamed.
"I came to thank for the baby shower gift."
What? Now? That's not necessary right now. Don't look at me with that scary face.
It mattered because it was now. Sarah wore a hat, but the shaved eyebrows and hairline were clearly visible. No one could see her without being shocked. Her colleagues were skeptical of her modest account of John, but his panicked reaction revealed the truth.
It's not true. I'm not the bad one. She's a bad wife. I was just trying to make her reflect. No, I didn't do anything. I don't know anything.
No matter how much he tried to dodge, he couldn't escape the truth. Eventually, Sarah and John divorced. The reason for their divorce quickly spread throughout the company, making John's life miserable. Despite clinging to his corporate job, it was over for John.
Fired. Fired. No way. After enduring all the bullying from everyone. Fired.
Sarah had reported the abuse to the police. John was prosecuted at home and fined. He might have thought it wasn't a big deal since he didn't go to jail, but a criminal record still attached to him. He couldn't complain about being fired for misconduct. The baby monitor camera, disconnected for a while, finally showed John's head. His hair cleanly shaved, scalp gleaming blue.
Can you see? Sarah, I was wrong. I'm a criminal now and unemployed. Are you satisfied? As you can see, I've shaved my head. I'm reflecting.
Without hesitation, Sarah started the call.
"If only we could turn back time."
Sarah. Yeah, right. Let's go back in time and start over.
Sarah's hair had finally grown enough to be styled into a very short cut, and her eyebrows were even again. With her distinct features, she looked like a stylish woman. Her expression much brighter now.
"It's impossible. Time doesn't rewind. And even if it could, I'd go back to before I met John and avoid you entirely."
Sarah's voice was steady.
"This is the last time we'll talk like this. I've asked a lawyer to handle the rest."
A lawyer? We're already divorced. What more is there?
"Compensation for the affair. I told you, the camera has a recording function. We have irrefutable evidence."
John, who had been kneeling, punched the floor in frustration.
I'm unemployed, okay? I've been arrested, too. Are you still going to go through with this? Ruthless?
I immediately turned off the call. There's no time to listen to his ranting. As for Mike, the instigator of all this mess, he's whining about not wanting to divorce me. He too has a criminal record for assaulting Sarah and has been fired from his long-time job. No home, no job, and he doesn't want to lose his family too. He's even ambushed me near my workplace.
I got mad because Sarah earns more than me. Just wanted to discipline her with John, like some sort of education, I guess. Went too far, but I didn't mean any harm.
It seems Sarah was attacked because of his inferiority complex. No bad intentions.
Of course not. No ill intent at all. Shocked that it's come to this. Involving the police in family matters, that's harsh. But I can forgive that.
I can't understand why he thinks he's in a position to forgive. Hurting someone without bad intentions is even more terrifying. You don't understand what you did wrong, so there's no chance for rehabilitation. I don't want to be near someone so frightening, risking harm to my precious daughter and granddaughter again.
Sarah is important to me too. Are you just going to take her away from me? We're family, right?
Hearing the word family from him is infuriating. Mike shamelessly begged.
Where are you guys living now? Let's live as a family again. I have nowhere to go. I tried to go back to my parents' home, but they wouldn't even open the door, saying you're no longer our son. Did you snitch on them about the Sarah's matter? Even my father disowned me, so you're all I can rely on.
Sarah had told my in-laws herself. The sight of their grandchild's pitiful state made them dizzy with shock. Given he was the instigator, they wouldn't take Mike back. In the end, Mike had nowhere to go. He lurked around the vacant lot where our house used to be, living on the ground for days, until reported as a suspicious person and lost his spot again. His last resort was John's place. Though the living room camera was disconnected, the bedroom camera was still working.
Hey, still no job. Guess people without an education are just hopeless.
What? You're just a temp worker yourself.
Even with a record, I'm smart enough to be employed. Unlike someone with a record and no brains. Can't even land a temp job, can you?
Their petty quarreling unfolded. Despite their arguments, they seemed strangely compatible. Sarah quietly deleted the baby monitor app. She had no interest in their fate. There was no need to watch anymore. With only John's part-time income, they would likely soon be unable to afford the rent and end up homeless together. Meanwhile, Sarah, Emily, and I were living together. More than 6 months after the turmoil, Sarah's hair had grown to cover her ears. The longer her hair grew, the more her smile returned to normal. I worried she might become withdrawn, but she's been actively going out, not wanting to waste her maternity leave.
There's something to learn even from such a father. There are things more important than education or income.
Sarah, stroking Emily's head, had a genuinely kind face. Emily, with 2 tiny teeth peeking out, grinned widely. I want to protect this smile. Catching each other's eye, Sarah and I surely shared the same sentiment.